More breaking news. Rock legend Eddie Van Halen has died of cancer at the age of 65. The news coming down just minutes ago. Entertainment reporter Sandy Kenyon live in the newsroom with the details. Sandy.
Dave, my heart is broken. Those are the words of his son Wolf sending the news via tweet saying, I can't believe I'm having to write this, but my father, Edward Van Halen, has lost his long and arduous battle with cancer. Eddie Van Halen was a prodigy who became a guitar god, the heart and soul of the band that bore his family's name, which sold 10 million copies and launched the band into rock's pantheon. The group was formed a dozen years earlier, consisting of Eddie Van Halen and his brother Alex on drums, the flamboyant David Lee Roth out front. By the mid-1980s, the band was one of the most successful rock acts of all time, selling an astounding 80 million albums all told worldwide. But by 1985, the run was over, or was it? Eddie Van Halen headed to a solo career, but there will be many, many reunions following in the decades to come. It became a big touring act. The band was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2007, with Eddie, of course, being singled out for his legendary guitar playing. His son Wolf's tweet called him the best father I could ever ask for. Every moment I've shared with him on and off stage was a gift.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the 44th installment of the Bobby Kudo Show.
I stood and looked down. You know I lost a lot of friends there, baby. I got no time to mess around.
It is with a heavy heart and much sadness to see you go at 65 years young, Mr. Eddie Van Halen. You know, there have been many, but few masters of their craft, such as him. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, episode 44 of the Bobby Kudo Show. And unless you live under a rock, everybody, you know we are live on Facebook. Thank you for everyone for joining. And the big surprise today, obviously, Mr. Gary Cabral joins the show once again. Gary, welcome, my friend. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
This is number 3 for you, brother, right? Number 3. Like this officially, I think. You know what? When I usually have Steve, Joe on the show, and now having you come in, sir, I believe that now you're like a regular. I think right. I think we've crossed that realm of just being you're.
Well, I'm honored to be introduced into the group now, I guess.
Yeah, right. Listen, if you're up for it, man, we got to get the 4 of us together. I think
that'd be some kind of cool
right.
thing,
I think that'd be a really cool idea. And even if we did you in the studio like we're doing right now, if you could see Facebook Live, if you're watching, guys, we got Gary in the studio. How great is this? Never mind Corona. We're not afraid. We do have safe social. I had my physical yesterday, bro. I went in there and I'll tell you, my wife manages thank God, because maybe I'd be dead by now. But my wife manages my medical health, right? And so calls all the shots. And I went in there. I went to get blood work done because you got to do that, right? Especially at my age, I got to be careful. So I go in there. Your wife is on it when the phlebotomist, who was fantastic, Katie. Shout out, Katie. She hits the printer button and it's like and dude, there's like 7 of those stickers, and each one of those stickers is going to be like a vial of blood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, by the time I'm done, I'm like half dizzy walking out of the place. And
did they give you the cookie and an orange?
No cookie and orange. I wasn't donating blood other than for my own personal cause. You know what I mean? Like really just for the medical reasons of it. But in all fairness, I tell you, it's you got I guess that's the message there, right? Take care of yourself.
Especially nowadays. I mean, if you haven't heard that, hasn't gone into you. I don't know what will.
Dude, I will tell you, and I know this is everybody's struggle, my struggle, your struggle. So I had the appointment yesterday for 7 o'clock in the morning, right? So I need to be there. I usually start at work. When I go to work, I usually like being at work like between 6:30. I like to be because I like to be there before my staff gets there, just to kind of get everything going. My appointment was for 7 o'clock. I was the first appointment of the day. And I'm in my truck, and I look, it's like 10 of 7, and I get my stuff together, right? I get out my pockets, and I'm like, so I get out of my truck, dude, and I literally like run to the door. And as I'm running to the door, this other guy is getting out of his car, and he's heading for the door too. So now it becomes like a who's going to make it to the door first kind of situation. So I get almost to the door, bro, epic failure. What did I forget?
Your mask.
My freaking mask, right? So I had to go, obviously, I had to go back, right? I had to run back to my truck, and I ran. I ran. I sprinted. If I didn't need a physical, I didn't need a physical. I sprinted back to my truck. I grabbed my mask. I ran back in the building. As I'm running, it was like a movie. As I'm running into the building, I see the elevator doors, bing, close. I look to the left. I see the stairwell. Bro, I sprinted up them stairs, man. Like, dude, Usain Bolt, up them stairs to the second floor. As soon as I come out of the door to the second floor, the kiosk is right there to check in. I hear the doors to the elevator, bing, open. The guy comes around the corner. I'm sitting there with a smile on my face, checking in. So I ended up getting it. I got the first appointment of the day.
That's awesome.
It was a struggle to get there, but I got there. I guess the moral of the story is, guys, don't forget your mask, right?
Bro, yeah.
Right?
I wonder what she was thinking when you walked in there breathing heavy. She's like,
Oh, dude, my life,
she's
bro.
like, oh, this guy's got it.
That is my life, brother. Honest to God, that is my life. Like, I am constantly living in this constant marathon, man. Dude,
Rat race.
I don't know who I don't know who I'm racing. That's the problem. Who am I racing? I don't know. It's me. I'm racing me. I guess, is that the way everybody's feeling at this point, right? Like this, you can't even get out of your own way, man.
No,
right? Like everything is something. You know what I mean?
I think maybe now people should slow down and not worry so much. I think some have gotten that point. Like, I'm done with the rat race. I don't know. The rat race has gotten to where we are now, where it's people don't even think about, they don't think as much. They're always on the rat race for what? Like you said, they don't even know what they're racing anymore.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I in all fairness, like we're talking, right, we just opened up the show, we introed the show. I had the mute button on so nobody could hear. So now I think Marcos, thank you. Shout out to Marcos for actually, he's like, can anyone else hear? So yes, we are now live on Facebook. So that little intro,
hi, everybody.
Listen, if you know what, if you're on Facebook watching live, you're going to have to listen to the podcast to hear what the beginning of the show sounded like. That's just the way it has to be. Because, sometimes you need a little Easter egg. So, hey, welcome, everybody. Listen, it's been about 2 weeks. It's been about a solid 2 weeks since I've recorded. And I will be honest with you. And, first of all, to all the fans, thank you for the messages, the kind ones and the ones that were a little sarcastic. But, I deserve it. I will tell you guys, and this is my mantra always, is family first. And in this case, the wife had my attention. We had a remodel in my bathroom. I had some stuff going on. Work is getting real busy. So, obviously you have to commit and you have to make a get a pick. So, in all fairness, and I thank God, because, last week we were going to record, Gary, and it kind of just, one thing gets in front of another and you just kind of get busy. And you never want to come into the studio and be in a rush, right? Like, you want to come in here.
For a good thing.
Yeah, man, sit back, enjoy the conversation, talk to one another, and just enjoy, obviously the content. So, obviously we got the show together, and we got some cool topics. And I've been kind of teasing the show on,
really?
on Instagram, Facebook,
Good.
Twitter, TikTok as well. The show does real well on TikTok. What I try to do is I do try little clips. I'll cut out like a 60-second clip out of an episode. And of course, Steve and Joe are so dynamic. You get those guys on the show, and the conversation is so just alive. You know what I mean? So I cut some of those out, and Joe made a great point in episode 43, and it was, if ever before, never more important to realize how much power your mayors and your governors have, right? Because that's the reason why everything is closed. When you think about it, right? Because, in all fairness, the president's saying, hey, listen, open it up. Like, we want it to open it. And the mayors and the governors, the bakers, they're the ones saying, no, that's not going to happen. So I thought that was a really powerful, just an observation on his point. And it's something, again, that you never really, you hear it, but you don't, you absorb it. And in this case, it is really
things we take for granted, I guess.
Yeah, man. It's like you almost wonder if you're not paying attention. Here you go. Here's a good example. If you play football, if you play professional football, of which I've banned, I haven't watched a single game. But if you play professional football, you can't get away with playing an offense without a quarterback, right? Or your offensive line, right? Like, there are certain pieces of that team, even your corners, right? But there are guys. I bet you right now, between you and I, Gary, and we watch sports, and we've been around sports most of our lives. But I can guarantee you right now that if I asked you to choose or tell me every position in NFL's, like, a football team, could you name every position? I can come close, but not every single one. I'm sure there's a safety backstop linebacker. Like, you know what I mean? There's something out there that I don't know. Same thing with this, like politics. There are so many intricate parts in movement that we don't know, and we take for granted that, okay, it really doesn't matter because I'm just circling the dots on when, you know what I mean? Like, right? Seriously, right? Like I see a D or I see an R and people are literally voting. That's the way that they're voting. So it makes you really think about the importance of detail, right? Like the detail. What's the detail?
You have to investigate a little bit.
Right.
This is your life that you're living underneath the thumb of these, authorities.
Right, and when you have people, and I hate to even,
like you said, it's like a multiple choice. Like the rat race, my whole life it depends on these people, and all I have is like a small sheet with multiple choice, and that's all I have.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Seriously. So what am I?
So you just pick something simple, we'll take care of everything else. All I have.
What are my choices? Right. So it's the lesser of two evils, and I'm trying to, and then half the time, again, and I bring my mom makes a show all the time, and I always use her as the example because even as when she became a citizen, someone told her, listen,
vote D.
You D. You blue. That's you vote. And it's in there. It's in there. And it was almost as if she was getting her citizenship, right? Like they handed her citizenship and said, "Hey, listen,
D,
right?
Like a big D over
and
it."
Almost like it was instructions that went along with this document that now says that you're a citizen of this country. Vote, and so she does. And I obviously never would I ever get into a political debate with my mom. You know what I mean? And she's going to vote the way that she sees fit for herself.
Right.
Obviously, I know she does, and she listens to the podcast. I know sometimes some of the things I talk about she may not understand, but in this case, I hope that she makes. And again, this is to everybody to make your own decisions and do what's best for you and your family. With that said, Obamacare. We can talk just a little bit about Obamacare, because I don't want to make this, again, this isn't a political show. This is a just current event show. If we talk about Obamacare, do you remember what Pelosi said about Obamacare? They were asked specifically, how do I know what I'm getting with Obamacare? And what was her response?
We have to sign it, then we can read it. That's unbelievable.
Right? Biden this week was asked again, are you going to stack the Supreme Court? And what did he say?
He said, he kind of danced around the answer,
and then he said, you got to vote me in to find out. Is this like a Democrat, like, is this what this
is what they're doing now.
Fill in here, right? It's like a pre-written statement to say,
it's like a negotiation topic. If you vote for me and then see what I can give you.
Who does that?
Well,
who does that?
All fairness, Trump said about the stimulus. He was like, well, you vote me in. He goes, I'm not doing anything until you vote me in. You know what I mean? I'm not signing any stimulus package till after the elections.
Well, he did just say that he called out Pelosi because there was a lot. Good. I guess obviously there's always the filibuster. There's always the fat in the bill. But in this case, he said, I will sign a bill that specifically is for the citizens, which is the $1,200 American citizen for everyone. I'll sign it right now. And obviously she wasn't gonna. And you know what? And it's funny.
You put her on the spot. That's what
and
so this is all about now.
And that's exactly what it is. And what she did was, it's so funny. I mean, fantastic. I always say, Gary, you're such a fantastic guest. And in this case, this is the first hint of it, right? He challenges her, right? And he does this over and over again. Even if you go back to remember the trip she was supposed to go to Brazil and he put a stop to. Remember that? Like since that point, she has literally had a vendetta to go get it. But so she's got this thing about the quiver. Did you hear this thing? She was on MSNBC. This was an interview that she had. Listen to how crazy this
Friday,
is. Just listen to this.
I started there early for voting the day that we lost Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
But to be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out.
Listen to this.
Good morning. Sunday morning. We have a responsibility. We take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States.
What was that?
The answer on the question.
Right? What was that? Good morning. Like, you have arrows in your quiver. That was your statement. She made that statement. And you know what? And she wasn't kidding, man. Listen, she wasn't messing around because in all fairness, what she did was, quite frankly, she went and she found a loophole. And she found a loophole. And what the loophole is, this is the craziest thing in the world because I love this. And I'm a fan of Dan Bongino. You listen to Dan Bongino? I like Dan Bongino. And you know, I really appreciate his facts. Everything about what he says is facts. And I'd like to think if you're coming to the Bobby Kudo show, you're coming here because it's facts. So she says that whole thing, the arrows, the quivers, right? Everything going on. So then she figures out, okay, if we can't impeach the president again, how do we get the president out, right? So she comes up with this. I didn't even know she could count this high. So she comes up with the 25th Amendment, right? So I'm just going to play this for you real quick. I want you to listen and just.
Prospects are at this moment?
Well, I don't know what the prospects are when we hear people saying I'm young and I'm a perfect specimen instead of addressing the fact.
And just so everybody, I just want to be clear. Like, this is specifically what brought her to this point was she is saying that the president is not fit to lead at this point, that he has COVID, and somehow the fact that he didn't die, because that's other than him not dying, right? So not that it's a great thing that the president was treated in is not only the president, but as a senior citizen. So that's hope for everyone, right? You got a guy 74 years old. That tells everybody, even your senior citizens who are very susceptible to this, that, hey, there are treatments available for everyone, right? So that's a great thing. She comes up with this idea that now she wants to find out, when was the last time you were tested for COVID? So mind you guys, there have been quite a few cases in the White House, but none of which anybody has been hospitalized or dying, right? So it happened. And they still say it was planted back at the event where they actually announced the new Supreme. Yeah. They said it was there, and then, quite honestly, I think if it happened, somebody planted that shit over there anyway. But in this case, this was her rebuttal to that, and this is how she's going to deal with it.
That 50,000 people were infected, reported to be infected yesterday. Nearly 1,000 people died. What are we talking about here? Tomorrow, by the way, come here tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the 25th Amendment, but not to take attention away from the subject we have now.
Do you think it's time to invoke the 25th Amendment?
I'll talk to you about that tomorrow. I'm not talking about it today, except to tell you, if you want to talk about that, we'll see you tomorrow. But you take me back to my point. Mr. President, when was the last time you had a negative test before you tested positive? Why is the White House not telling the country that important fact about how this made a hot spot of the White House? Thank you all very much.
And this is strictly because Nancy Pelosi is so concerned about the Trump administration. She's so concerned. And how did this become a hot spot? And why? And if everybody, if you don't know, let's talk about the 25th Amendment real quick. And I'm not a scholar. I had to Google it. I didn't know what it was.
Well, it should be easy to find, right? It is our Constitution.
So it turns out, I go and I look at it and I read it. And what it says is, it is in fact, the vice president deem that the president is unfit, whether it be mentally or physically unfit to serve as president, at that which point the vice president assumes control of the White House. That's what the 25th Amendment is.
Okay.
So I read this and I'm saying, really? Is that a possibility? And then I realize, wait a minute here. The first thing you do is you blame the other person, right? So you accuse somebody of doing something when you're doing it yourself. So doesn't this sound like the recipe? And I don't want to sound like I know everything, but doesn't this sound like the recipe for, hey, listen, if Biden truly does win, if he gets in if he wins, Biden Harris in the office, is this the segue when Nancy Pelosi says, hey, everybody, we're going to invoke the 25th Amendment? Guess what, bro? Guess what?
Biden's not fit.
Everybody knows. Everybody now knows. Everybody knows what the 25th Amendment is now. People had no idea, brother. Nobody knew what the 25th Amendment was. Now we all know, because it's literally in every tread, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I don't care where you get your media from. It is there. She is talking about it. So now we know what the 25th Amendment is. So now Biden is voted in as president,
to
right?
make everybody feel comfortable.
And then
Harris is going to take over.
And then she says, "Hey, listen,
please vote for him.
Done.
At least Harris will be there. If you're not sure of Biden being president and you hate the other side, please vote for Biden, and Harris will help us for the next 4 years." I don't personally go that route, but this is what they're trying to smooth over to the masses to be comfortable with voting Biden in. I mean, it's a free country, you know what I mean? You are right, free to vote, but this is how they put the agenda through, or certain things to make you think or smooth things over, kind of take advantage of your rights, or just to get you going without much of a fight and letting them fall into play.
It's when you know what I'm finding. This is what I'm finding. I'm finding that it's you no longer can, or if you follow politics in any way, shape, or form, it can't be for 5 minutes. Like so everybody who watched that debate, that vice presidential, let's not even talk about the presidential debate, because I think although that Trump was completely unhinged and it was kind of. It was really just upsetting to see that he gets that out of control. You know what I mean? Like I don't like that in my president. I'll be honest with you. But in all fairness, he did achieve what he set out to achieve, and that was get Biden to denounce probably some of the biggest or strongest reasons why the left is following him. Are you going to? You said you were going to abide by the Bernie Sanders manifesto. You know what I mean? Like that was literally going to be the baseline of your presidency. You know what I mean? So you had all the AOCs, you had all of those, you had all of those millennials, you had all of those, and then all of a sudden, fracking. No, we're going to ban fracking. That's not going. And then all of a sudden, you completely flip the whole narrative. Look, one or two things are happening here. Either Biden and Harris are not talking to one another because she was on TV and literally looked at the camera like she was all into it. Like looked at the camera and said, "We will not ban fracking." Like she was so intentive in that point. Outside of that and saying that, America, do you remember the struggle looking for toilet paper? Really?
I know.
People in the streets are killing each other, man. You got people in the streets literally killing each other. Look at Chicago. And I always go back to San Francisco, California, where she was the AG, right? And then you're in the Senate, right? You're a senator. And then you've got Nancy Pelosi. And then you got this recipe in California for what? For devastation? They say it's a shithole. It's an absolute shithole.
People are leaving in mass forms.
They're saying in droves. People are leaving in droves. And what are you going to end up with? A bunch of liberal movie stars living up on the hill? Yeah? Who's going to deliver your propane? Right? Who's going to bring you Uber? Right? Who's going to, right? There isn't going to be anybody around. Everybody's leaving. And the people that are there
who are paying very well taxes, the tax basis for them, that they're producing, they're gone.
Yeah. And the thing is the amount of money that California makes from the entertainment industry, that's really the lifeblood of that. I mean, you think about California. That's, people go visit. Why do people go visit?
Because California, Hollywood.
Yeah, right. So now there's none of that. California. You literally have a generation of children right now that are being raised with YouTube. They're not in California. They're not in San Francisco.
You could be anywhere.
They're in the digital world, right? So you can be anywhere, right? Like us right here and doing the podcast. People listen all over the world. I mean, shout out to all the fans all over the world. I mean, my goodness, literally, when I say all over the world, Gary, we are literally all over the world. So to me, so proud to be, but also by the same token, it's very easy for me to platform this. Whether it's a good message, whether it's a bad message, whatever it may be. Do you know, I'm kind of shifting a little bit, China was actually blocking out every time that Pence spoke, they were so the Chinese people
just saw Harris.
Just saw Harris and what she said. And again, you know what? If I could sit here and say that I was, okay, well, at least the Democrats have a strong vice president. In this case, neither or. Bro, and I'm not trying to sway nobody. I just struggle with the idea. And I know that there are going to be people listening to this and they're going to be like, oh, you shouldn't really talk. You know what? I always look at the best idea. I manage that way. Mm-hmm. Like my team, any of my team members, they listen to this my podcast, they're going to completely agree because when I have an idea, I share that idea. It might not be the best idea, but it might stimulate you to have one. And I always tell my team, the best idea always wins. We are in this together. But in this case, you look around, bro, and people are just somehow poisoned and polluted. Is it by, I mean, listen, let's talk about like this, what is it, Social Pandemic? Is that show on Netflix there?
Social Dilemma?
Social Dilemma, yeah, Social Dilemma on Netflix. I mean, it completely blew my mind. Mm-hmm. It completely blew my mind, absolutely blew my mind. When you think, and again, and I always bring this up, like with the government, people say, well, the government. Do you know that the brightest, smartest people in the world work for the government? And now the other half of those people work for Twitter, Facebook,
big businesses,
Google, and they literally, when you watch this, please, if you haven't had a chance, right, go Netflix, Social Dilemma, go check it out because it is absolutely eye-opening. It's one thing to know it. Right? We all know our privacies are being, obviously, like, you know what, I'd like to think that I'm not literally being raped, but I know they're taking advantage of me.
Yeah.
But after watching that documentary,
now you're more aware,
bro. I feel like I'm being raped. Literally, I feel like me personally, my everything, and I go and the part that really spoke to me the most was that it doesn't matter how far back you go, man. Like it's from the beginning. Like it's there forever. All of it is there forever.
Never comes away.
Every single thing that you have written or done on is.
It can be found. It's documented, recorded, and it's just held in a mainframe, and it's there.
Right.
They can come back at you later on and say, hey, look, you decided to change this.
Yeah, or you decide to run for a mayor, you decide to run for, some type of office.
A year before, you were thinking differently. Yeah. And it's just, it's like, the media has it. It's almost, they're very good at making people sway one way or another because it's a machine. I want to say so much a machine, but it's the narrative to make you think of what's off topic and go to people's core emotions. and just work on that and try to maneuver people's thoughts. And that being said, the whole system that if you see that movie, that it's a computer program that just goes for you, and it doesn't care what it's about. It has no moral, it has no worry. It just does it.
Yeah,
and
it
the
just
people
does it.
see it, and they says let's see what we can do and feed off. It's the privacy. They're using you are a product. You are the thing they're trying to maneuver so they can get their way. You are the product.
And you think that you're looking at these things, and you think that the products are. And I will tell you, man, they get me sometimes. They are so, again, when they have you down to the
pattern,
the nucleus, right? The nucleus
yeah.
of your pattern. They know the things that you like. You know, I was hiking up the Mount Washington, so now I see all this hiking gear.
Yeah.
It's like it literally it knows where you are. It knows what you're doing.
It's really efficient. I mean, for us, any business wise to advertise, it's the best. You know, I mean, it is very very good for that.
Yes.
But unfortunately.
Yes.
People who do the business are smart to say, let's push this to the political realm, or to maneuver to maneuver people's mindsets to kind of like string them along to make them be agreeable to anything that you want to press on or get by.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing. It really is. You wonder how we can continue on this path, and at what point does it break? What point does it actually that people say, I'm no longer going to turn on my cell phone, like I'm not going to, or demand the fact that you need to remove the battery. Like it needs to be a removable battery. Like you can make a phone, but I have to be able to terminate power to that device at any given time, because they say even shutting off your phone,
it still has
you're not really shutting off your phone. You know what I mean?
And that's the scarier part. If there's somebody using some of that for heavier, more nefarious reasons to get into your privacy and like frame you in one way or another, versus what your thoughts are, what your mental entertainment is, but actually literally frame you, put you somewhere, or make you somewhere, find the pattern in you, and then put the blame on you, or something for that essence where they're already gonna. What's that movie there for Tom Cruise when they think about your crime before you commit it? That's where we're going.
Yeah. No, it was. Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I'm just trying to say that because that's something where people can understand and relate to.
It's true. Right. Exactly. Where they're actually predicting the crime before the crime is committed. That's man. Now you got me. We'll have to think about that.
If somebody sees it posted.
Somebody posted if they see it. That's actually a great question. The movie with Tom Cruise, like he works for the police. Yeah, and they got those.
They digitally monitor people to find out what they're
in that tank there, and they can see, and he takes one of them. Right, she's like a muse. Like a muse. That was a pretty good
analogy.
Yeah.
Well, not that point, but the software and the algorithms and things that are happening and what people can do with it if they really find, like, you could frame you and say, oh, Gary's this and Bobby's like this, and he goes here all the time, and you know what? We're looking into his private. He's got personal problems at home. How are we gonna work on that? You know what I mean? How are we gonna make it look like? And that's what they keep that information stored, so when they need to use it against you, they have it. Could be like going off the rails with it. Like, businesses don't care about us personally; they just want to push a product.
Right.
Unfortunately, businesses want to push a narrative too with certain things. But if we're smart enough, we know if we're aware of it now, then it makes it that much harder for them.
Yeah, but you know what? When you continue in this parallel, right? Like, at what point how does it, again, because it's digital, right? Everything is digital. Like, when you think about it, it's a whole, none of it is tangible. Like, you can't touch it, right? So how do you get to a point where, again, like, generations, bro, like, my kids don't know a world without the internet, without being connected all the time. How do you pull away from that and still function in society? Because I'll be honest with you, dude, this podcast could
hiking to Mount Vernon. That's exactly what you did. That's what you got to do. You got to just enjoy some of the nature.
Right?
And I think people are doing that now since all this crap. I mean, there's no more bikes for sale. People are getting out walking. They're enjoying. They're slowing down a little bit. That might be a good thing. I don't think it's going to last. If they have a vaccine or something.
Well, look at Florida. Florida's wide open. Yeah, I have friends that go to Florida, and they're like, "Listen, you go to Florida, it's like nothing. Like people are walking around like."
I had a buddy just send me pictures. He's in Florida now, and they're all on speedboats cruising around by these nice places on the West Coast, and they're having a grand old time in like summer 2019. I don't know.
And they're making a boatload of money. Because you could get a cheap flight, get on an airplane, cheap flight, like $99. You fly down there. In reality, Rachel and I were actually looking. We're going to celebrate. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary.
Congratulations, guys!
Right, 20 years. We've been together for a long time. But married for 20 years. Yeah, man, it's been quite the ride.
Good.
I love you, Rachel. If you're listening, thank you. It's been
She's felt honey do this right now.
Yeah, what a journey! What a journey! It's just crazy right now. Putting my dirty laundry out there, right? But anyway, we're gonna. I mean, even when you think, like, we go up to New Hampshire, we celebrated our anniversary. We climbed to the top of Mount Washington, like you mentioned. People are getting out more, doing more outside. And it was nice, dude. It was nice to just, I did social media a little bit while I was on the trip just to kind of
connect,
document it. Yeah, I want to document it. I want to keep it, but
that's the purpose of it.
Yeah,
the main purpose.
But in all fairness, when you look at it, and I watched that documentary, like I feel like it was like I'm sharing my information with the devil. You know what I mean? Like I'm just giving people all the information they need to profile me and my family. And like they said, when you think of the model, right? Like Facebook turned around and said it, and our model was from the moment you sign on to Facebook, we want you to have 7 friends in 7 days. And right, when you look at that model and you multiply that times the millions of subscribers,
you reach the world.
Right, you reach the world. And again, like I mentioned, I couldn't survive without it. I advertise on Facebook. I boost the show. I put it on there, and
use it to your advantage. Use the devil to get
yeah,
through hell, I guess.
Because again, like I mentioned before, I never had a Facebook before the podcast. I never found the reason to have one. But again, in this market, in this ginormous pool of podcasting, I mean, everybody and their grandmother's podcasting now. Without it, I wouldn't have nobody would even know I existed. I mean, my friends and people that I know. But outside of
that's the greatness of Facebook and the internet. Because besides that, you'd have to go through Hollywood,
right?
Right. I mean? Go to a centralized system. You know what I mean?
39% of our audience for the show is in California. You know what I mean? So shout out to them. I mean, I hope at some point that you can
stay.
Yeah, man. Just look at what's going on. And
no fires get to you.
Again, don't forget. I mean, I always say, don't forget your history because you're doomed to repeat it, and that's the problem.
Very,
we continue to do that. Yeah. And something infuriated me this week. Shout out to Joe Costa. He shared a post with me from the school, and it said, "In celebration or observation of Indigenous People Day." What? Indigenous People Day? Like, what does that mean? What is
We're not in Australia. I mean, that's
Indigenous
Indians,
People
right?
Day? No, it's Columbus Day. It was Columbus Day.
The guy, they want to change that because Columbus
I don't care, bro. The guy floated across the ocean in a canoe, right? In a canoe with disease, with no modern technology whatsoever, right? And anyone of us out there, if you get in a canoe like he did and you float across the ocean and you find something, so hats off to you, dude. You know what? Maybe he wasn't a saint, but he did his job, right? Like that's the bottom line. You may not like the guy that's fixing the pothole in the street, but I tell you what, you're going to appreciate the work that he does. Same thing.
You wouldn't be here in America if you didn't.
That's what I'm saying. So it's Columbus Day, and I'm going to say it's Columbus Day. So if that like offends you in some way, shape, or form, I don't know what to tell you, man.
You want Indigenous Day? You say it, but don't try to remove Columbus Day.
Indigenous people. Like, to me, that's insulting to the indigenous people. That's insulting. Like, why are we singling them out? Like, why are we talking about the bad and not the good? You know what I mean? Like, really, bad shit happens all the time. Like, that's not all we talk. Gary, if I got on my podcast every time and I talked about bad shit all the time, then nobody would listen.
Right.
So we talk about the good times.
Because they hear them all the time, yeah.
We appreciate the good times, right? Good memories, and we learn from the bad ones. Like, I'm not going to do that shit again. So we forget about this shit, and we remove it from our vocabulary, and then we remove Columbus Day with Indigenous People Day. We remove personality traits with systemic racism. It's these transfer of words that, you know what? Black, white, purple, green, orange. To me, it really doesn't really matter. Either we like each other, or we don't like each other. Either we get along, or we don't get along. I respect your space, you respect my space, and we move forward. But when you start to segregate this way and you use those, again, out of all the PC comments, dude,
fragment people and all that.
Systemic racism. Stop it. It's racism, period. It's not systemic. When you say something is systemic, it means like, you know what, dude, you're now you're racist. That's not what it is. You know, because you can be raised in a house full of white supremacists and obvious to what's wrong or what's wrong with being a white supremacist. You want to hear an example? My father was a severe alcoholic, abusive severe alcoholic. Should I be an abusive alcoholic? No, because I witnessed it firsthand, so I knew what I did not want to become or did not want to be.
I totally agree.
Just because you're born or around those things, it just makes you
have free will or choice.
You have free will or choice, bro, and you're just sensitive to those things. Yeah. And I hold that very near and dear to me because the choice of who I am, the friends that I choose to keep company with, is my decision. I choose who I want to spend my time with. You're not going to tell me that I need to have a Puerto Rican friend.
No, because that goes against everything that's... not to say that like there's certain things that happen in human nature that we have in this country, but to frame the country in that manner, saying, oh, this is a bad country. No. There's a lot of good things that came out of it. It's not because, it's systemic. Okay, so you recognize it, but you don't go and try to remove the other portions of it because then you're doomed to repeat it again.
Right, of course.
It's not all nice and, you can't live life with it's all niceties and remove the bad stuff because then you don't know what's bad. And then it comes back and they'll take advantage of you again. I think there's a lot of people out there that there's nothing to fight for. There has no struggle because Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where they have not, there's nothing that they fear for, there's nothing that they strive for or care for, and then they look at things to pick on, and they just try to give themselves a validation and say, I did something. It's like, you really did nothing. But,
right, and
it's unfortunate to a lot of young people.
You're right.
They've gotten screwed. But if to go on the other way, it's like you either play the game.
Is it because you're lazy? Is it because you're lazy?
Yeah. I'm sure that some of them have their gripes, and sure, justified for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, like, what are you going to do? You're not doing anything constructive.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything.
No, you're not. Yeah, right. You're not helping anybody. You're not helping anybody.
You're causing more angst.
You're not helping anybody. Let me ask you a quick question. Would you?
You got all my time.
I know your daughter. She's 17 years old, but let's just say your daughter she's 14. We're gonna go back in time because I'm wearing my back in time T-shirt. If anybody notices, I'm wearing my back in time T-shirt. We're gonna go back to her being 14 years old, and this is probably gonna sound like an odd question to you, but would you trust the mailman to go pick up your daughter from school? No. I mean, I'm sure you see the mailman almost every day, right? Guy comes to deliver your mail, right?
No, absolutely not.
You wouldn't, right? Yeah, you wouldn't, right? So why would you trust the mailman with your vote? Like, why would you trust the mailman with something that's that important? Seriously, like to me, it's that important. Like, if you choose to live amongst society and you want to be an American, you want to be a part of society, outside of having an ailment like a leg issue, like just some kind of ailment that prevents you from leaving the house, why wouldn't you want to go? Why wouldn't you want to go and vote in person? Go and exercise that constitutional right, the right that makes you listen. If all of the Karens out there, for the one reason you ever have to bitch. Right, you'll bitch all day long, complain. Yes. But you know what? If you go and you vote, then you have every right to bitch and complain. You have my ear and my respect. You know what I mean? Honestly, I'm all about it because you know what? Because you're part of the solution, not part of the problem. Regardless of how you feel or what your political view is, if you do not go out and vote in person, shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Absolutely. Again, you see people that mail in their votes. Why? Why would you trust that important document? I'll tell you what. Joe made an amazing point. He goes, grab like $500 cash. Take $500 cash. Put it in an envelope.
You're gonna sweat all day long before it gets where
it is. And mail it to yourself. Go to the post office.
See how often it comes back.
And see if it makes it. Like, I'm serious. I'm being dead serious. Let's see if that money makes it back to you. Let's seriously see, because that's cash money in there, and nobody will ever know where it went. Where did it go? It got lost in the mail. Oh, really? That was $500. Oh, well, we don't know what's in the envelope. We don't open the envelope, right? We don't know what it is, right? It's that easy. There's no accountability. Who are you going to call?
Especially when the letter says, whatever. Massachusetts state voting, right? They're going to see it and say,
absolutely.
Wait, where did it come from?
Absolutely.
What station? What area code? Then they correlate that with the voting program, or because they know exactly. And they're like, you know what?
Of course.
Oh, wait, that address follows on the ballot program when they ask you before you vote D or whatever, or they already have what your old is, they'll just throw them away in hordes. And I believe now, and everybody's got their rights. Some people are afraid to go out. There's still some other people who don't want to go out. They're afraid to go into places.
That's okay.
Then if you want to mail it in. But stop pushing the narrative that everybody's got to do it by
right.
It's a very dangerous path.
Absolutely.
Very dangerous, because it can be manipulated. Move the remote without, because it's hell no bad enough that people are trying to figure out votes for the last elections, and we were there literally and the post, and we were fighting about the ballot boxes and the recording machine. I forgot the name of them.
Do you want to know why it's important to vote?
It's dangerous.
I have a legit proof. Like, we were talking about it, and we're probably like rah vote 2020, right? And I really am, because I believe regardless of what side you're on, it's important to vote right now. Like, we all know how important that
people left this country. And died for the right that we have.
Right, exactly.
Died bleeding.
So with that said, this guy fires me up. I'm going to share this with you right now. We're going to listen to it. You let me know what you're thinking. Once we're done, this is the reason why it is so very, very important to vote.
We have tremendous losses because of COVID. We're not liable for them. I'm not accepting liability. I'm not accepting the premise that New York State or New York City should pay. We didn't do anything wrong.
This is Andrew Cuomo. The governor of the great state of New York. The greatest state, the greatest city in all of the world, where the greatest things happen, right? In New York, right? Everything's better, everything's greater in New York. And this is your governor, New York.
The federal government should pay. The federal government was wrong. It's the federal government that allowed us to be ambushed by COVID. It's the federal government that missed that the virus went from China to Europe. And they missed it for 3 months. And it's the federal government that missed people getting on planes in Europe and coming into New York. It was the federal government that does the border control. at the airports. It was the Department of Homeland Security that was supposed to be protecting the border. You know how they wanted to build the wall in Mexico? Protect the country, protect the country.
What an asshole. No.
It's pure politics.
No, this is just
it's all pure politics.
Dude, there's more. But I just needed to stop us there right there. And just like what an asshole. Cuomo, you are such an asshole, man. You know what? Regardless, even if you wanted the federal government to pay, that's fine. That's okay. Why are you making it a distinct separation between the federal government and the state government? Right? Where did you get all your money from, brother? Where did all the ventilators come from, brother? Like, where did all that come from? It all came from the federal government. Why? Because you have bankrupt New York City. You did the impossible. The Big Apple. It's bankrupt. Why? Because you're incapable of running the state, and then you won't even take responsibility for what it is that you're doing.
Yeah. Then, in the meantime, COVID is walking in the door at JFK and Newark International Airport. While you're spending billions keeping us safe from Mexicans, we were invaded by Europeans with COVID. And you were totally asleep at the switch. And we had no notice. The other states at least had several months' notice. We had no notice. So the federal government is liable. They're going to pay that bill, not us. You know when you're at a dinner table and they put down a check and you're there with a number of people? If you're not liable for the check, don't touch it. Once you pick up that check and look at it, now you're liable. How is New York State going to solve the deficit? We're not. It's Donald Trump's deficit. He has to fix it.
No, listen, I swear to you, I did not manipulate that audio in any way, shape, or form. Those are his words. That's exactly what he got. He went on TV and spewed out. That's exactly what he went out and spewed out.
He knows the state's in devastated.
Come on.
People are gone from New York, and I see it firsthand. I see New York plates. I go to their homes and we speak, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not going back. I'm not going back for a while." And they've thought about moving. He knows that the city's devastated. It's going to take a long time to return, and that's one of his major incomes is that damn city. I mean, remember, he's the governor of New York. He's in Albany all the time, so he's not in the city. So he knows that there's a lot of shit to pay for. He don't want to take the action because he wants to make sure that he gets reelected, or even just say, "It wasn't on me." And look, it's New York. It was the first place where everybody comes. It's the way that the airports are. It's not anybody's fault.
Right. It's the hub, man.
It's the hub.
Literally
it happens.
is the hub.
And a lot of this that you're gonna face, Cuomo, isn't really anybody. It's the way the shit turned. You know what I mean? It's just pretty much what it is.
Right. And if you're the number one,
it's because New York's a big hub. It's
absolutely.
Other cities, people are leaving too.
JFK
so you
is
could be
one
in
of them.
California or New York. Yep. Cuomo, you would do the same shit.
Top 10 airports in the world. International airports, right? You're an international airport. And obviously you don't know you have a problem until you have a problem, right?
He just knows he's in deep shit. He just knows that it's going to take a long time to recover. Bro. He should just, I don't know, but he wants to put the blame to Trump to help the other side to get in there because, they would write State of New York and Cuomo to get back in. So if Trump gets back in, he might get less federal aid. So he knows that, which means it's trouble for his campaign.
Yes, man, but I go back to the original question, and I know this is probably leading us to the core topic of the podcast, and I know this is exactly where it's going to lead. But I ask this question often, and I probably ask it on every episode, and 44 won't be any different. Why, Gary? Gary, why? What is it? Why? Why bankrupt? Why do this? Why get it to this point and then blame the other side? Where is it going? Why would you encourage, like Mr. de Blasio, why would the mayor of New York City encourage violence? Why would he paint the street with Black Lives Matter and encourage the movement, which is, obviously been proven to be behind all of the violence, all of the chaos? And they continue. He doesn't even take blame for it. They do these stupid videos. Did you see that Lori Lightfoot video? I mean, guys, if you don't follow Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, but more so on Twitter, you gotta get on the Bobby Kudo Show on Twitter. And I post a lot on there, and really my opinions and my comments really, I find that Instagram is really good for momentary things, but if I'm in the middle of say a conversation, I think Twitter is very more flow. And that Lori Lightfoot in Chicago, and she was captain.
She's the mayor, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, she's the mayor. Yeah, it was. Right. She put the costume on. She put the Captain COVID costume on, and with him, it's the most ridiculous. I mean, if you haven't seen it, go on, check it out. TheBobbyKudoShow.com on all the social media platforms. I posted the video, and it shows her running around in front of the camera. And that was the way she wanted to bring in the fact that trick-or-treating. Everybody's dying. People are dying in Chicago. People are shooting each other, like in the streets, like animals. They're literally, like, you can't even go out in the streets, right? None of that can happen. But you're running around in a costume and you're talking about trick-or-treating. Who is your audience? You're not talking to the urban, the communities that are being we're being ravished by the Antifa. Who are you trick or treating with? Where are you going? Am I going trick or treating in Chicago? No, right? Because my kids are gonna get shot. My kids are gonna get run over by a car. It's not happening. How is it that's the leadership? Those are the people like the de Blasios, like the Lightfoots. Like these are the people. Again, back to Joe's point: the mayors and the governors, and how much power they have.
Well, this, I guess, this is the one of the side effects of having a free election. You can vote whoever you want. Whoever wants to run, they can get it, and then they can very well win. This is one of the drawbacks, and I wouldn't. It's just a side effect of having a free country where you can vote whoever you want. Anybody can run, and not everyone's going to be smart. The numbers aren't there.
I know, bro.
Not everyone's smart.
But
why?
Know what I
mean? Not everyone's smart.
Again, why? Even if your platform,
she's caught to the media, trying to find someone, because she's probably at wit's end. She has no clue how to get by. And she's, I'm going to try this. Somebody gave her any idea. She's, let's go with it, because it's TV, it's media.
But even that, but it's the concept. Like, for example, the federal government, the Donald Trump administration said, "Hey, listen, we'll come in, we'll help you, we'll give you money, we'll come help." And they're like, "Nope." She's like, we don't want nothing. What do you? Who suffers from that?
Because it's politics. Well, this is why we have a free election. So when that does happen, the next time she's running, she's gonna get a landslide and she's out.
Get her out of there, right? Captain COVID, get her ass out of there.
Or take your money. This is one thing great about this country. You can take your money, take your assets, and move them to a different state or different area of the country where it's friendly to you. Yeah. And then they'll feel the effects that way, because regardless, no money's coming in. There's less money coming in versus federal aid, because federal aid hurts everybody. And sometimes in my federal aid, I don't want to go to that place.
Right.
Why? So even if it's offered, they don't want it. Good. Don't take it.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm sure there's people on the other side that are agreeing with her, or people who believe in the Black Lives Matter, where they've had instances in their life or their environment and community where they feel redlined in a way or harassed. But even then, this isn't really causing anything. That it's not a good effect. Yeah, but I'm sure Martin Luther King will be rolling in his grave saying, "This isn't what I."
Of course not, man. Of course not.
You can't say that. We can't say that. We can't say that.
Why?
Let's erase this, because we can't say this.
My goodness,
we can't say, because we don't have the right to say it.
And this whole white supremacy thing, it makes me absolutely crazy. Because you know what? White supremacy is cigarettes. Huh? Is that a crazy comparison? No, because here we go. You ready for this? We know if you smoke cigarettes, you get cancer and die.
Right.
That's a no-brainer, right? White supremacy is the same idea. Nothing is different. They're both the same. We know that they're wrong and they're bad. Right? That's the bottom line.
They're not productive to anything.
So people continue to smoke, and people will continue to be white supremacists. Do I choose to follow that? No, I don't. But by the same token, don't fuel that fire. Because if all you talk about on the media is the white supremacists, guess what? In the Kim Kardashian, that famous words of Kim Kardashian, it doesn't matter what they're saying as long as they're talking about you, right? There's no negative press. Nope. And this is all we're talking about. Do I believe that Donald Trump is a white supremacist? Come, are you kidding me right now? No. Let's stop with the bullshit narrative and just be, if we deal with the facts, that's already hard enough. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, Gary, they make it so complicated. There's so much intricacies and everything that they almost like, you almost say to yourself, like taxes, right? Screw this. Like, I don't understand it. I'm not even going to pay attention to it, right?
There's a purpose behind that.
And that's exactly it. And that's where we're at here. And, Gary, you and I, we've been talking all week and chatting back and forth and to instant messaging and talking about, the Federal Reserve and how that affects when you really think about all of this, right? All of this chaos and COVID and all of it. They say that the top 40% of rich America, they've already got all the money back. They're not. Yeah. So if you think everybody's suffering, they're not. The richest people in the world.
This is why we have the riots and the uprising of people getting upset, because they see the unequal.
Yes, they were saying that anybody that makes over $30 million a year has already made their money back, has already rejuvenated their revenues. You know what? I guess good for them. But when you're looking at a country that is like starving, and what do you,
are we really starving though?
There it is right there. Are we really starving?
Right, or is not yet. I mean, I'm sure that there are people that have a whole lot to say, but And now, if this country's hurting that bad, how about the rest of the world? Remember, this is a world situation.
Yes.
And people are getting mixed up with.
Yes.
We're so arrogant in a way. Many people are so arrogant. They think of it as a country and don't realize there's people out there fighting for $6 a day to feed their family. Right now because of this going on, and there's nothing. And you're crying because, oh, I'm laid off, but I'm still getting that check at the end of the month.
Amazing, dude.
I'm gonna go out and party this weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm not thinking about the future. And my 401k, my that still went back up because just like the wealthy, your assets went up too. And it's all cause of inflation. And unfortunately, it's somewhat by design.
No, right, absolutely. And I watched that document. Was it Hard Money?
The Hard Money film.
The Hard Money film. And guys, you can check this stuff out. I mean, it's right there. I mean, amazing the amount of detail. And of course, when you're talking about the major banks and the major commercial banks and that cartel and how that bill was written, it really kind of, I hate to say,
it almost makes a conspiracy that opens the Pandora's box. A lot of people
it really does.
Sometimes it's so complicated that they don't want it done themselves.
Yes.
And
you know
I
what's
don't
funny?
know about that. It's just I don't.
And the funny thing is I'll compare it to, I'm instrumental, bro. I play instruments, and for a long time I wasn't able to read music, and it was funny. And I'm playing the guitar, and I'm trying to read music, and all of a sudden something happened. It was almost like the first day I learned how to ride a bike. I could see it. I could see the notes. The notes made sense to me. And it's almost funny after watching these things and really...
You can pick off what's going on.
Right? All of a sudden, it's starting to come. I'm like, wait a minute. Well, that's kind of making... Like, I'm getting the twitch in my eye. You know what I mean? Like, it's starting to make sense to be like, okay, well, that makes sense. And you know what? It's really not about the gold anymore, right? Like, we all think that the dollar, our mighty dollar, is backed by its equivalent in gold, in the solid substance of gold. And in reality, it's not. It's driven by inflation. It's driven by...
It's a fiat currency. It's designed by... Well, that's actually... derived from the power of the oil, because we were actually the major it was backed by oil. We were the major producers and refiners of it throughout the world, and we had convinced the world to go buy the dollar. So we removed gold from the setup because actually gold would have been a better setup. I wouldn't say it works good for now. I mean, they designed the banks, the Federal Reserve. It was a system designed to cause everyone's a debt monetary base where people borrow money. And then we get paid on interest, and they're great. Now, not to say nothing completely bad about the central bank and the reserve. People look at the Fed and they say it's bad, which is, look, how it was derived, it started nefariously or whatnot. It did cause a lot of positives through. I mean, look, not everybody's going to borrow or have money designed and backed by gold and be able to buy what we have and all live with what we have.
Right.
I mean, it's all machine construction and it's debt by value of people's.
Sure.
So there's nothing, but there is a lot of bad thing where people have used that mechanism to gain massive amounts of wealth.
Right. So in other words, like so I mean, really, when you look at this, is when you think that the money that you have, that the currency that you own, and you think long term. Like if I'm putting money in an IRA or I'm putting money in a bank account, like that money is mine, it's safe. But in true reality, in fact, it really doesn't exist. And you can live in a market where the banks that are lending these funds, the money value isn't worth the money that they're lending out. No. So they're giving out more money than they actually technically have.
It's a fractional reserve where you can have like at least 10 or 9% of, and then you can actually just write more zeros in the bank.
But wasn't that the core reason why we got away from gold, was so that someone couldn't control it, right? If I hold the gold, I control the gold, right? And you don't know.
It's still true today. I mean, a lot of countries and nations still retain a lot of gold, and they actually repatriate gold where they see what's going on, and some countries are calling in the gold note because they have it at reserve banks in New York and all around the world.
Sure.
They want it back.
But I think people don't realize that this goes back to France, which France was right.
France was the first one.
They were lending the United States money.
And we were just saying, well, we'll get it back to you, and we're going by the dollar note,
right?
And so then we realized this ain't gonna work, and we just decided to convince the world we're getting off the gold mark and we'll do it by fiat. So
what was that? The island there? What was that?
Jekyll Island.
Jekyll Island, and that's
there's
where
another place that was actually closer of a state that you really are fond of.
So this is where we go,
in
Joe.
New Hampshire.
This is where we go, Joe Rogan. Go ahead. I love it.
There's a place in New Hampshire that the Bretton Woods. If you look that up, Bretton Woods. That was one of the designs to set up a centralized bank.
Okay.
And so it derives from there, and as well as Jekyll Island. A lot of the to-do and very wealthy, and their names are still prominent to this day, all met together, and they decided to change something into a centralized bank. So, and that centralized bank is in a lot of other nations in the world, England, the Bank of England.
Yeah.
It's not the Bank of England. They just named it the Bank of England.
Yeah, right.
And the Federal Reserve is just
But
named the Reserve
that's what
Bank.
you think, though. If I see a sign that says McDonald's, I think it's a McDonald's, right? That's what I'm.
If you think it's Federal Reserve, that's a government.
But you can
entity.
name
It's
a bank whatever the hell you want.
Because they're smart.
My bank is I'm the Bank of the United States of America, right? I'm
And
not.
so
I'm not.
you think, my money is backed by the United States of America.
Right.
I'm good.
You always hear that, federally backed by the Federal Reserve, but what's the backing? Who's backing that? And
to be honest with you, the backing is confidence. It's a confidence in the
Yes.
dollar that people can work,
Which is
and
why-
have a value and gain things, and because they know it's there,
Yes.
there.
Yes.
So they removed it from the gold because now they can which has caused the inflation.
Yes,
everything went
which
parabolic
is why when the president got sick, the market went down. People confidence, like you mentioned, confidence, and then of course when the president started doing better again and he's on TV, then it increases. Now the market increases again. You get the confidence in the market that you're going to do well and you can make those investments. But all in all, man, the scary part in all this is like, what's that power that controls us, Gary? What's the right? Because you think about it, and it very powerful. And I'm not taking credit for this because I heard it, but it was very powerful when I heard that taxation without representation is slavery. It legitimately makes us slaves to a system that can control the monetary value of your presence in this society, right?
It's manipulation.
It's
of the
manipulation,
value.
right?
Right, so everybody complain about how the government printed more.
Yes.
They just make that fallacy. Let's go print more, give people more money. You got the little measly checks. They weren't measly. They helped a lot of people out, and some people did very well with that $600 in stimulus.
They did, of course.
But the money didn't all, when Trump signed that money, didn't always all go to paper and it's sent out by the mail to everyone's house. It goes to commercial banks.
Digital transfers.
And that's going to happen because something with the Federal Reserve and the way the centralized banking system is, it's malfunctioning. Yeah, things are happening. It's changing. I mean, you can see in other countries that's already happened in Greece. Yep. In Cyprus, a lot of these other nations are hurting now, and it's all on the same system as we are on. We're just stronger because everybody relies on this country.
Of course, because it's the confidence of the United States. You know what I mean? But it's funny when you think about it. You talk about digital transfers. If any of the audience, if you're considering a digital transfer, go over to anchor.fm/The Bobby Kudo Show support and support the show. We could do the monthly subscription, 99 cents. You guys can help the show out. I mean, 99 cents goes a long way. You know what I mean? It helps him with the website costs. It helps him with the server costs, and of course, there's a lot of monetary advertising that I'm putting into the show and the content, and none of this stuff just comes together. I mean, there is a.
I mean, you didn't get a stimulus from the Federal Reserve?
Nothing for me, bro. I don't qualify for the PPP program. You know what I mean?
Right,
yeah, nothing for me. It's I'm still working.
You didn't get a banknote from the government saying, "Here you go, Bobby."
Kiss my ass. Got 50+ hours a week. I'm still, dude. I never had a break. I didn't. I was considered essential the whole time. Went through the whole process. But if you guys can get over to Anchor or even PayPal, you can support it. Go over to thebobbykudo.com and there's a PayPal button there. You can go ahead and you can make us a donation. I should say donation. Actually, just provide some support to help the show. You love the show. You love the content. Again, it all comes together, which brings you to another point, Gary. And we can go right back to what we were talking about. But I do have a contest coming up, and I want to just kind of tease that a little bit. It will be related to the show and to the Bobby Kudo Show. And what I like to do is I'd like to start a hashtag. Maybe get a hashtag trend going, and the hashtag would be hashtag TBCS. And if you go ahead and you hashtag TBCS on any of the platforms, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, with yourself watching or listening to the show, snap a selfie, hashtag TBCS. And what I'll do is in 2 weeks, I'll let the show maybe 2-3 weeks. What I'll do is I'll pick a couple of people. I have a Google Home. I got a couple of...
Tell them what they want.
Yeah, right. Tell them what they want. We got a Google Home. I got a couple of great T-shirts, some really great prizes that I want to give away, and obviously stimulate the subscribership to the show and just kind of get the word out there. So don't forget, hashtag TBCS, the Bobby Kudo Show. It's the acronym for the Bobby Kudo Show. So use that, take a picture of yourself, and be a part of the show. And great prizes, man. Good stuff. Like, you get the T-shirts. If you're on Facebook Live, you guys can see Gary. Gary's got a couple of the Bobby Kudo Show T-shirts on display. My man sporting them. It's perfect. It's fantastic. And if there's a loved one, hey, Christmas is right around the corner. You know that? Like October, November, surprise, Christmas. So go over to Etsy, the Bobby Kudo Show. Go grab a T-shirt. Go grab some merchandise and check that out. And just Gary, going back to what we were talking about. When you're talking about some of these other nations like Russia that have this influence and this power, but no more than I would imagine China. You know, and you almost wonder, like, for me, the scary part of all this is you realize how dependent both nations are on one another, you know, whether it be an import, export. And you see how the relationship obviously is tattered. I mean, it's just in shambles, and based on the China virus and everything else, and the way that the president's speaking about that. You don't hear Biden talking about China. He doesn't really mention any of the foreign. I honestly don't know what his foreign policy is. I don't know where he stands on foreign policy. But if you guys happen to listen, Trump was on the radio yesterday, and he was talking about Iran. They just imposed another sanction on 12 major banks of Iran, just stopping the flow of money into that country and literally like choking them out to give them to say, hey, listen, stop with this nuclear bullshit and come join the rest of the world. You know what I mean? So,
well, see, is that no? Trump's falling into that line, and I don't think he's. But
those
are the countries that aren't dependent on a central banking system.
Yeah.
That North Korea, there's a few other countries that they're relying on their own thing, so they want them to fall in line because there's a lot of wealth in there, and they have a lot to offer the rest of the world with some of their resources. So it's almost, there's another thing people should look into Confessions of an Economic Hitman. They see how corporations can maneuver and use the government and the money system to use certain other countries for their gain. Now, Iran, yeah, they're a different animal. China and America, yeah, they're a tattered relationship. But then again, you know, who's taking advantage of who? We were just, you know, companies or politicians were just enjoying the aftermath after their campaign and enjoying some of the money coming back.
And Iran knows that, and they've been put on notice. If you fuck around with us, if you do something bad,
I love that he said that.
We are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
Imagine that. That was live on the radio. He was live on the radio when he said that. And, you know, although people are like, oh, it's vulgar, you know what? It's refreshing. It's refreshing. Because you know what?
Got him in, you know?
Iran. You go to Iran and you're an American, you're not coming back. They're going to tear you up. They're going to. They don't like. They don't like us.
To be honest, that's the government system again. So
yes.
Just like we're mad at our government.
Yes.
Because I see a lot of people in Iran just don't give a shit.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. Right.
Before the 70s,
I don't feel
before
the
the oil embargoes, people, they said
I
great people, and they were actually
that, Gary.
very progressive.
Yes.
They were actually moving forward,
Yep.
and women would be able to drive. There was a lot of fairness, but then, you know, certain entities who have control of the media and all that, they don't bring that. They don't show that to people. They just say, "Oh, Iran's the enemy."
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Now, China, look, they were, as in Trump's words, fucking around.
Yep.
You know, they were taking advantage of, and people got to think, China isn't in it for a short-term gain. They're in for the long haul. They can wait 100 years.
Well, you get the World Health Organization was involved in that whole debauchery of.
And look, we sold ourselves out. We did. I mean, companies did it. I mean, look, you like your cheap shit. How do you think it was made? It was over there, got shipped over, and you buy it cheap. Now you want jobs to come back. They'll come back. We're gonna have to. If this goes, don't be surprised. If this goes where it's planned, with Trump wanting to bring jobs back, they're not all going to come back to America. Because if I'm the company owner, if I bring it back, I'm not going to make much profit. So I'm going to bring it to Vietnam, other smaller countries, which is a good gain for other countries.
Yeah, it is. But
it'll be a fairer task and all that, and they're going to play the right game with us. We hope.
You hope. You hope at some point you can get to that agreement, because the dependency on that import and export with other countries,
and it's got the biggest import-export. It's got more ports in the world.
Dude, I'm all about USA. You know, I'm all about like buy USA, buy American. But in all reality, we still
it's not going to happen.
We still
You're not
need our
going to be able to afford it.
relationship.
We won't be able to afford it.
You know, I always go back and probably, was it like 5 or 6 years ago, if you remember Egypt, right? And that whole the coup and how that all went down.
Arab Spring.
Yes, exactly. And then how that all happened and how those people are, and you wonder, is that like precursor to what's happening right now? Like I can't help it. Dude, I can't help it. When I think about and I see what's in the news and all of it, and I'm like, wow, man. Like I never, dude, until that point, I'll be honest with you. And again, I never pretend to be like a college scholar. I'm not smarter than you, Gary. I'm not smarter than anybody else in the show.
Everybody's smart in their own way.
But I knew, like, when I watched that coup, which was the first one that I can remember, like, physically seeing and seeing how the military was involved and all. Like, it was a failed coup, but nonetheless, it was.
I mean, Egypt, the guy was moving.
Yeah, I mean, it was impactful. It had its. Yeah. But
maybe it was a bad one.
Exactly. But my thing is, look, I never knew what it was, and then all of a sudden you look and you see our country, bro, and you can't. You could watch things that are on media now, and you can't tell what country. That's not the United. No, listen, guy, that's Detroit, right? Like that's Michigan.
Seattle, yeah.
You know, that's Utah.
Minneapolis.
Right? That's Chicago. That's Minneapolis. And you say to yourself, how is that happening here? And it's almost the color wars, right? Again, the color wars. We go into other countries. We stimulate the populace to sway an election, and we look now.
The resources.
Right.
But we benefit from that.
Yeah. You know what I think? I think that even in this election now, do I believe that Biden was the choice? I think honestly it should have been Sanders. I think that's.
You know what? I'd rather, because he's.
Yeah.
What I heard is regardless, he's honest.
Yeah, exactly.
He's full.
And he's more likable.
So
he's more likable.
Yeah,
you
even though you might disagree with him, but you know where he's
right.
coming from, and he's not lying.
So I think the Democrats made a mistake. I think that's what happened here.
No, they don't want him because he goes against what they actually want for themselves.
And then the thing is, I think where the mistake came was when Hillary Clinton got involved, because we all know Hillary's behind all of this. She's behind all of it. Now, she says, the control factor, and you hear some of the things that she comes out of left field now. Hillary Clinton, obviously, the 2016 election, she disappears. Nobody hears from her ever again. And then all of a sudden you hear her on the radio. She's, well, Joe, no matter what, you don't concede. You do not concede. So even she's saying no matter what, clear and blank. Those are her words, quote. So what are you saying? That even if you know he didn't win the election, you do not concede and you drag this thing out? And again, I don't want to repeat what we talked about in 43, but this is relevant, Gary. And I know, really important when you think about the George Soros of the world and the people that are really driving the money markets and are controlling and sending money to these attorney generals that are letting people off onto the street after they just literally pillaged the whole city and burnt the city down, right? And George is sending them money going, yeah, let them out. So who is actually in control? Like who is it? The show, brother? Is it the George Soros? Is it that one control?
Illuminati you're talking about? Yeah.
Well, I mean, some people call it Illuminati. Like I don't know. Like what is
the
it?
Rothschild family,
right? Like what is that? There has to be. I think if we are narrow-minded and analog in thinking for 1 second, right? Thinking for 1 second that the president makes every decision, right? That the vice president makes every decision. I think that they make the decisions at our level. It's at our level, but I honestly believe that there is a level above us. There is another level that you and I, sir, are not privy to.
Right. And so I say I don't have the answer for you for that.
So into the rabbit hole,
people who have that
right?
power don't want to be known.
Into the rabbit hole we go, brother. And the worst part about it is when you even talk about these things, like there are people right now probably going and switching off the podcast because they don't want to get into the conspiracy conversation. But it's almost one of those things like Fight Club. Don't ever talk about Fight Club. If you don't talk about these things, then nobody ever knows what the hell's going on. Like who's in control? Who's making these decisions? Why is it that George Soros is throwing money around? Like what? I don't understand that. And when you think about the Zuckerbergs of the world, like the influence, going back to Social Dilemma, when you have the people that are controlling the social media, the news, because Facebook said a week before the election they're not going to allow anybody to claim ownership or the win for the presidency. So who's doing that? It's an algorithm. It's an AI.
Well, no. The AI, it runs on its own, but when they want to do something, they get you push for a button. They get some guy say, sit there and look for these and stop it before it pulls out. That's just what they do because there is a staff in the building that takes care of that. That's Facebook itself or any other social media entity or software program. To go back to what you were saying, who's in control?
Yes.
It could be, it sounds crazy. It may have started for a few banksters in the beginning of the century, and there are people who are in power that stay secretly, but like an algorithm of its own. Like people who are in power want to use this setup or system where it's no longer a face or a name to this central aid, but it's the system itself that's happened by people who like to take advantage of it or use it to make super wealthy, and then it's a machine of its own that has to stop. But it is starting to fail. We have seen failures in Japan and other countries where it becomes stagnant and deflate, and it's going to happen to us.
The man behind the curtain, right? The man. Don't look behind the curtain, right? Don't.
Yeah, but
right?
I mean, I personally think there isn't. I mean, there are some people that will never mention or not know because they have that much power not to be known. Wise enough to know, like, I don't want to be involved. Let me just the puppet master. You don't ever know who's the guy pulling the strings, so we'll never get to know. Because it ruins the show for them.
You're right.
They just take advantage of what's going on. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, I think that the system in itself has been too many players are in it that have gone in unknowingly and enjoyed its benefits and come out, and then they've metastasized themselves and worked themselves in it. That it's a system in itself. That's the way it's worked. It's called a central bank system.
Okay.
Will it last? I don't think it's going to last because all societies that pass it ain't.
So let me ask you this question.
There's going to be a change.
So since we're in the hole, so let's go a little deeper here. So we all know that dopamine, what that is, what it, the brain, that's the stimulant, like
satisfaction.
That satisfaction, that
warm, comfy feeling.
That warm, comfy feeling, the same thing you get from from an addict, somebody who does heroin or whatever it is. That's what we're searching for, and of course we're talking about social media. We're talking about a controlling factor, a power above ours, and then you talk about instant gratification, and you create a culture of people that you can't wait 5 minutes. Like, it's got to be right now. Like, no, I need it right now. Oh, no, Uber Eats, I want my McDonald's right now. I want it right now. Amazon, one-day shipping right now. I want it. So you create this culture of people. Is it literally, honestly, like I mentioned it before, is it brick by brick? It is at such a small pace that we don't even realize that the first thing you do when you get up in the morning is pick up your cell phone. I do it. You know what my excuse is? My excuse is I pick up my cell phone to check my work emails. Because I'm a manager, and if there was an emergency on the overnight, I need to know what that is. So when I pick up my phone isn't only showing me my email. It's showing me my display page, and it's showing me a lot of information. Who liked my Instagram post, who liked my Twitter post, right? So immediately, as soon as I get up in the morning, is it the first thing I consume a cup of coffee? The answer is no. I'm consuming social data the first thing when I get up in the morning. And what's the last thing you do when you go to bed, brother? Hey, what's the weather going to be tomorrow? And that's the excuse. Like your brain, and again, I hate to use, and I apologize to anyone who struggles with addiction, but a heroin addict doesn't very rarely ever just say, hey, you know what, I'm done with heroin. I'm going to stop. I'm not going to do heroin anymore. No, they convince themselves. I had an addiction, cigarettes. I smoked for many, many years. I remember convincing myself, talking myself into smoking. Like I would literally somehow reason with my brain that I needed a cigarette. And
that was your brain telling you.
And I would justify it, right? I would literally justify it. So I'm literally poisoning myself, knowingly poisoning myself because I want dopamine. So here we are in a society that we have literally breeding children addicted to dopamine. My daughter, she was 14 when she got her first cell phone. My son, probably 14 years old when he got his first. And now they literally consumed by, and we excuse it, right? Well, you know what? I can go on my friends, and I know where my daughter is all the time. I know where my son is, right? These are the justifications.
It's your dopamine yourself,
right?
I'm comfortable.
These are my right.
Feel safe.
Yeah, like, for me,
I have control of my life. Right
yes, exactly. For the podcast, right? So all of that is again, I'm addicted. I'm like everyone else. I'm not excluding myself. I'm just as addicted to the screen. I'm constantly looking. I'm constantly reading tweets. And I almost tell myself, the more that I consume, the smarter or more information and educated I can become, and then share that on the podcast, right? So for me, I feel like I'm not just a heroin user. I'm also a dealer. You know what I mean? Like I'm consuming it, and then I'm spreading this information. And I would like to think that, you know what, that maybe some of this stuff is helping people. You know what I mean?
Yes. I totally agree. Some of those things are advances of, technology. You wake up, if you're looking at work, it's better than looking at a fax machine or calling in. But, some people have that addictive. Well, I want to say, would it be addictive? Or,
yeah, man. Totally.
I need because we are social animals.
Yep.
We are social.
Yep.
We were all born in tribes.
Yep.
That's how we survived. So now you look at it, say, am I acceptable to the group?
Yes.
How many people liked my thing?
Yes.
And who's doing that? Oh, I need to do something better.
Yes.
And those are the same algorithms that we talked about.
Yep.
They know how the human brain works. Let's use it to our advantage. Let's put that in his face. Do this. But we're just happy because our brain doesn't know the difference that we're in the tribe. It says, hey, look, you got that same feeling. Yes, we belong. Yes. We're validated.
Oh, they like me. Oh, look at this. Oh, this person liked it.
That person's doing that better than me. I got to do it. Yeah, I'm not feel good enough.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is,
bro. And again, if you ask my wife, and I bet you, if you ask most women who have children, and you say to them, and you say, hey, listen, what if we took your cell phone from your kid? Oh my God, well, no, how would I? They're going to school, like they need to be able to communicate with me. Well, listen, you know what? There was no cell phones when I was in school. If I got sick at school, the nurse would call my mom's work, and most of the time, my mom would be pissed off because you weren't supposed to get phone calls at work. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that was the reality that we lived in, and guess what, brother?
We stayed
here. We are.
We're
we're here. We're here. We made it. We made it. But, you know, I always look at these, you know, and I find myself as I get older, I tend to look long term, and I look at the things that have happened in our recent history. And you talk about like 9/11, and you talk about Sandy Hook. And when events like that take place, it almost creates a situation where it's required. You can no longer send your child to school because if there's a school shooting, they need to be able to communicate with you that they're okay. You know what I mean? Like,
I know exactly what you mean. But
you see what I'm saying? Like, I mean,
the same people who use that same feeling bring their emotion out. So now we got more power.
Do you see what I'm saying? So you create.
There's people, a lot of people out there that are pieces of shit. They use that.
And that's
use it to our advantage. Let no crisis go.
Like every veterinary and on the planet. I apologize to my veterinary fans. If you are a veterinary, if you do veterinary medicine, if you're a veterinarian, you're an asshole. Okay, you take advantage of people. That's just the bottom line. I'm sorry if I'm hurting your feelings, but the bottom line is you guilt people into doing things and spending money that maybe they shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like I talked to friends recently, you know, and I'm an animal lover, bro. You know me, brother. Yep. Sadie was such a big part of my life.
You've had animals all your life,
but Gary, I would never ever choose. You know, I'm sorry. I would never choose my dog over my family member if I knew I couldn't provide for my family because I had to pay $5,000 to have my dog's stomach pumped out. I'm sorry. It was great to have you, but we'll put you a nice little spot in the backyard, and I'll never forget you. I'm not going to make my family go hungry. But veterinarians, that's what they do. They make you feel guilty, and if you don't do it, you're a jerk, right? You're not a good guy because you didn't. And this is the same thing. It's that guilt where they're almost saying to you, if you don't do it, you're a bad person.
It's
right?
a business, though.
Right?
I mean,
right? Exactly.
It is. It's not like if there was a
and what's the
governmental
product,
support
Gary?
of healthcare.
And what's the product? You say it. It's a business. And what's the product?
Selling medicine.
You're the product. You're the product. And it's the same thing with the social media where you're
the product for they're selling advertisers. Say, look, I'll make your sales go to the roof. I got the perfect candidates.
Yep.
But here the doctor's trying to sell his medicine and his services to you to pay for his own college tuition, and business, and all. And I understand that.
But your emotions are making the
decisions. Yes.
Very rarely.
He knows how to play to your emotions to say, I'll write the check out. When make the appointment.
Very rarely do you go into those situations where
pitch.
You're making a decision solely based on the logic. Right?
No, because if it's a logic, you're going to remove yourself from that.
And that's why.
That's what it is. I mean, everything's based from the direction of emotion.
Electrical impulses to the brain, brother. That's it. Right, that's really what it is.
That's what it is.
And you know, Gary, I always go back to quote that you said on the show, and it was so impactful and powerful to me. And I just it stuck with me when you said it. And you said it. You know, good times make weak men, and bad times make strong men.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful to me. And I really I believe that wholeheartedly. And
it's true. You'll see that now.
And when you said it, it just one of those things that sometimes people say, and it's like I carry it with me, and I think about that all the time. And that's exactly the situation that we were in. You know. Coming into the Bush years, right? The Iraqi war, we were raising our kids, Gary. We were bringing up our kids, right? We were that generation, and now that's shifted to another generation. That I believe there were some really good times there, and even now, I'm a perfect example, man. I got family members that maybe should be on a career path that aren't, that maybe should be, and I think it's the quote failure to launch. You know, they're not moving forward because they know that they don't have to. Like I got mom and dad, or I got my situation where I don't have to take the full responsibility of my life because my parents.
You're comfortable. You have no
right.
I forgot to say it. There's a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If anybody knows what that is, they can repeat it. It's where, when we were born thousands of years ago, we were just worried about getting eaten by the other animal, and trying to match up with the tribe. Now you wake up, there's no worry, and so the body we're still Neanderthals in our hind brain. So you wake up and say, well, I'm going to eat. I have this. There was no suffering.
Yes.
I don't have to run from animals.
The basics. Like the basics. Like, right.
Your brain still thinks,
we
need to do this. So your brain says, hey, you're supposed to be running for something. There's something you're supposed to strive for. It's no longer there. Like, you can live years comfortably and not worry because technology has gotten to that point where we're at. And unfortunately, so we have to make something up of that, and we have to find something that causes strife.
So
we feel validated. Say, there's something to my life that's of value because I strive on something stupid.
So here we go. Ready? Does it become monetary socialism?
We're going to that point, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what
They're
right.
going to make it digital.
The money controls everything. The money
because it's your food. It's because now it goes to different. Yeah, exactly. Money controls everything. I mean, behind everything, money controls everything.
Right.
Even just ask for money to help you out with the cause here.
Yes.
I'm sorry. It's a way of getting value for your work.
Right.
You know, you're not going to borrow for 2 sheep and 2 cows come on your front yard.
Exactly.
You're going to borrow for something that can use your value for whatever you want.
Exactly.
Yes. Whatever it's dollars or gold or
that's
seashells.
So we live in that. We live in socialism.
Yeah.
We live it and accept it because, brother, again, what else is it? Honestly, if you don't go to work, if you do, that's it. You stop. You decide not to work anymore. How can you participate in society? Because you can't. You know what you end up doing? You end up living in San Francisco and shitting in the street.
Yeah.
That's what ends up happening.
Exactly.
Right? And then all of a sudden,
just like the tribe, you got to put yourself in the tribe. You got to jump in. You got to follow and go chase that elephant or that saber-tooth tiger. We all got to sit together.
Right.
Right. You go sit there with, not to say nothing bad, but you sit there with the women and pick berries.
Yep.
You have no value as a man.
Exactly.
And that goes with everybody in it. So you have to, so it's
what's
still
your
there.
contribution? What's your contribution, right?
It's stature.
Am I carrying you or are we carrying this together?
Yeah. We're all going to get it together. So you're going to put you're going to put skin in the game. That's what it is. You want to eat, you're going to come in, you're going to eat that big thing.
Yep.
You can go, but if you're the one that brings in the most cash, guess what? You get the most value because you're producing more for everyone else.
Right.
So you have more value.
Yeah, that's fair.
And now
that's
with
fair.
now we don't have to worry about that because the technology's gotten, but it comes to a different status symbol where, I have this, I own this, I have that. It's gotten to the point now where status is like you are a producer, but now you just produce. We are now consumers.
Yes.
We just get crap.
Yes.
More crap. And then
Yes.
it shows status.
Yes.
He's got a better this. But the unfortunate thing, and this goes back to the banking system where I can buy a car that's $10,000. You can buy a car that's $80,000. They actually both do the same. Both have AC technologies come the same. So am I really paying $80,000 for a symbol that shows something that somebody else is like, he's doing better? But actually, it's no longer required.
Yep.
The banks see your home still heats up, whether it's 2,000 feet or 20,000 square feet. So now the banks see that in the future something might happen with this where once you start figuring out like I don't need that, and it's already a sign of that, it's called minimalism. Or people say I don't need this shit anymore. I can downsize. And now it's getting to the point with technology where we don't need it, but we got to keep that thing going for people to say I need that better than that guy
The perfect
example
is that people listen. If you think for 1 second, this goes out to the audience. PSA: if you think for 1 second that your credit card company likes you and that's why they raise your spending limit, they're not doing it because you guys are friends. What they're doing it is because you're paying your payments on time, you're making all of your payments, and you're keeping your balance within reasonable limits. They don't want that.
He's a safe debtor.
They want you to increase your limits. They want you to spend more money. They want you to be in a situation where you are unable to make your payment on time. That's the model. That's the way it's built. So don't think for 1 second.
So when you're not able to, they raise that interest.
There you go. They get the interest, you get the penalties, and then you never ever catch up. Never get confused for 1 second and thinking that this financial institution likes you and you've been such a loyal customer that we want to make you an unloyal customer.
It's a safe bet. Let's give him more credit. Let's give him more
absolutely right.
Safe bet.
Yeah, and again, I go back and I hate to use the term social, but it when you think of the money controlling it, dude, it's where the money goes. And I hate to use the word and I hate to bring it up
because that's socialism. Because now everybody gets the same in a way. Everybody's taken care of. So the value is diminished, and then when you lose that, you're gonna actually lose control because you're actually losing your control of becoming a credit earner, and you can take on the debt you want versus now you have to spend it because I see there's going to be a change in the money system. I believe now I'm not gonna tell everybody to just take the money out of the bank, go strip your 401k empty and all that because there's still going to be some kind of value of certain. Entities are still going to derive. Businesses are still going to need money. People invest in something to grow. That's not going to change. But the literal dollar sense is going to change. But I do see people need to have a skill, something of value. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that don't have that. Value is something you can provide. Have skin in the game.
Yep.
Can you fix this?
Yep.
Are you a license holder of something?
Yep.
Do you have a master at something?
Yes.
You have to have that value.
Mike Rowe is big on that, man. If anybody knows Mike Rowe, I mean, he's got an amazing podcast. If you haven't had a chance to listen the way I heard it, and the great part about it is it's like 6 minutes. Literally, he just tells a story, and usually it's about someone who has changed mankind for the better. You know what I mean? Like some impact. But his philosophy and his fight is literally tradesmen. The the fact that we don't have people that can do the trades that we need every single day. Like somebody still has to fix the plumbing, somebody still has to fix the boilers, somebody still has to put a roof, and you're in a situation where
here's the thing, the value, and we can go back to that. Sorry to cut you off,
no.
But the plumber or some technician, you want to call him like, oh my God, this guy's charged me an arm and a leg, and I got to wait 2 days for him because he's so busy. Well, they'll be the future of the big money makers,
right?
Because these kids are a lot of people. I don't want to go back to the kids, but a lot of people who are taught you need to go to college. It doesn't matter what you go to college.
Yeah,
you go to college,
man,
and now it's like you have no value.
No,
you come out. What can you produce for society?
Nothing.
You have this,
Nothing.
This paper, this diploma, and this associate's degree on what?
On what?
On what?
On
what are we doing?
Like what's
unfortunately, I mean, it was the American dream. This if my kid goes to college, it goes. But someone with a trade, someone with a value for something, yes, they're going to make a lot of money, and they're going to do well. It goes back to value. Money and currency, it doesn't matter. It's a trade for effort created by
right. But you could have kudos. Look, you could have, for example, perfect example. I'm gonna give my cousins a free shout out on the show right now with Kudo Construction. They are in the trades field, like they remodeling houses. They do an amazing job. My cousin Jason, Derek, Brian, they do an amazing job. But without people to do the work, they wouldn't have a company. They need people to do shingles. They need people to install windows. They can be as successful in directing. They can be directors, right? They don't have to be tradesmen. They don't even have to know how to swing a hammer. But they need people. Like I can have a great idea, but if I don't have the people to implement the idea, then it's just an idea.
There's nothing wrong with being ideas and
making
a business.
But the problem is, Gary, when all you have
it makes us the greatest country in the world.
But if all you have is people coming up with ideas and nobody to implement them, then what happens? Like you need a workforce. You need people to create things. That's your economy, right? Your gross product, right? What you're worth is literally what you're able to produce. You know what I mean? Companies like Tesla, companies like SpaceX that are literally revolutionizing and creating jobs that didn't exist, right? Because you always, oh my God, well, the textile industry. The textile industry is gone, but now they're growing marijuana in the buildings in which they were used to weave cotton and make fabric. So it's not about losing the momentum in your gross product, but it's shifting the idea and okay, well, if we can't do this anymore, now we're going to do this.
Yeah, you have to be agile in any economy that makes. Well, that's when the smarter ones get by the dumb ones. If you're not able to grow and advance and change in kind of like Bruce Lee's words, you got to be like water.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
You're exactly.
How can make an advantage of what's going on? You have to be fluid.
Yep.
Be able to move with things and see demand and traits of others and use that to your ability to grow.
Right. And again, any company that's successful, like the Apples of the world, the Googles of the world, those are all built off the shoulders of people that had these great ideas, these engineers, these almost they have a philosophy, you know what I mean? But again, are we doomed by our own creation? You know what I mean? Are we entering again like Terminator, AI, bro? Like the Skynet, it becomes aware. You know what I mean?
Well, these are side effects of technology. Like there is no more. How many times the labor force has been diminished because a machine can take care of 10 men. A farmer can do hundreds of acres. You don't need an army of guys to cultivate anymore. And these are the side effects. I would say side effects of great technology, of where more labor gets done. But now here's the problem with that. So if why do people have less time on themselves? Because this is where the debtors become slaves.
Yeah.
Because now I have a machine that can do the work of 10 men. I should be able to do the same amount of work and have for less time and have more free time.
Yes.
But now I'm convinced, you really need this.
Yep.
This will change your life.
Yep.
Hey, that thing right there, that guy's got that. You need to get that too.
Yep.
You need to produce more so you can get more. And next thing you know, it's like I should be able to work 10 hours a week and still have enough money to live and have fun and enjoy my free time.
Right.
But now we're consumerism. What over us, we consume.
Right. It's almost like, again, I forgive me for saying so, but like you're in a state of depression and you're trying to find a fix to fill that void. You know what I mean? And is it on Amazon, right? Is it buying earrings? Is it buying new headphones? Is it buying a new cell phone? Is it whatever it is?
Get that short burst of dopamine, then you're not happy again.
Right, exactly.
No fulfillment.
Right. And then the whole time you're watching, it's arrival time, right? When is and Amazon's beautiful at this. I get more text messages from Amazon than I do anybody else. Your package is in a box. Your package is on a truck. Your package is on its way. Your package is in the driveway. Your package is on the porch, right?
Amazon's your friend,
right? Like it's. I have more communication with this AI robot than I do my own family. You know what I mean? Seriously. And when you look, because I only know that because when I go into my texting thread, Amazon's the first one at the top, right? So is it the consumption of buying things, trying to make yourself feel better? And again, back to, the scary word, brother, it's monetary socialism. It's literally being a victim of your own circumstance. Like the fact that you need that dopamine, you need that instant gratification. You're doing the purchase, you're on Instagram, you're on Twitter, right? And you're realizing you're doing two things. You're spending something that you can never reclaim, right? So your time, right? So I can spend money on something that I think may give me a return on investment, but my time is something that I can never get back. So the moment passes, and it's funny, I think about when I worked my career with Shields.
You could lose everything on this planet. The only thing you'll never get back is
time.
Yeah, and that's the richest, wealthiest man will ever tell you.
Oh
that.
yeah,
Your
absolutely.
Time will
I've never been. And the funny,
that's the only thing that's finite.
When I worked with Shields, I worked. Obviously we worked at the Winchester Cancer Institute. Yeah. It was so vital that we never lost an appointment. And it never really made sense to me. Like, just reschedule. You have a situation where you can't reschedule. Mm-hmm. When you lose that time slot, it's gone forever. There's nothing you can do. And if that time slot was somebody who was, stage 3 cancer and needed this treatment, a week can make the difference of them whether they live or whether they die. So, you really you grasp the concept that wait a minute, the time, right? I cannot buy this. There's no way, shape, or form that I can go somewhere and say, here's all my money. Here's everything that I own, all of it, just for one more day. Give me one more day with my family, and I will give you everything that I own.
But yet we squander that hour for a few more hours of work for this trinket that loses its value faster than you get it at the door.
Yeah.
But that's how this central monetary system works. Create more debt, create more movement, more velocity. You keep going. Because everybody got happy.
You're so
everybody was happy with that small little home or that first car. There's no spending. There's nothing being created in your your retirement, your investments, they won't grow because there's not the demand is. Oh, I'm happy with it. So that's the unfortunate drawback of technology.
Being satisfied.
There are people out there that are satisfied. They use your time for other ventures.
Yes.
But if everybody was like that, then they're in trouble.
There's nothing.
There's trouble.
Again, you need somebody out there doing
because
it.
Because of the system we have. Because it's the fiat system we have.
Yes.
But that's what it is. We trade the time for little bullshit things so we can keep up with the Joneses. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is a stable to say I have a wonderful life. You have the nice things in life, things of enjoyment. And then you can travel and do things. People, fuck you money. The guy literally said it to me. I go to homes that you just say, this is unbelievable, and it ain't their first home.
Bro.
And then they look at me, and when I speak to them, and I don't peer into their lives, but they I'm in their environment, and sometimes I have some crazy stories about people that are very wealthy, and they let things go on me because they have the same bullshit problems like many people do. I hate my wife, and she's a pain in my ass. But either way,
we think we're all so different from one another, but in reality, we're all struggling from the same
same bullshit, just at a different level. Someone may gotta sit down at the table and break bread with you because they think they're better. But
even speaking of that, so obviously we all know because Gary, I always mention Gary on the show every single episode, and again, your venture in real estate, and brother, I don't get too far off subject here because we're talking about some really cool stuff. But you just got a sale, right? I saw that. Congratulations, man! How amazing
those
is
I get
that,
proud
bro?
of when I make a family, when I find something that's good and they're happy in the whole deal. There's other things I deal with. I don't really post it because it's just a normal.
No, but dude, that was all. No, but I'm saying, seeing that, and obviously, the success of the show, and I would hope and pray to God that somehow we have or the show has some type of influence and maybe getting you whatever. Just
make you think differently.
Just make you think differently. And then again, if guys reach out to Gary, if you have a chance, obviously on his cell 508-415-4177, or send him an email at cabg2711@yahoo.com. And Gary's going to take care of you. I called Gary this week, as a matter of fact.
Happy to everyone.
And I tell him, Gary, listen, man, I need to get out of Massachusetts. I'm sorry, everybody in Massachusetts, but I'm at a point now where I think I have enough equity in what I own that maybe I can make a financial move and maybe go somewhere else where maybe the weather's a little warmer. I don't know. Maybe I'm not paying so much in taxes. I'm not quite sure, but whatever it is, I think I'm almost ready, brother, to make that move and say, I don't want a mortgage anymore, man. If I can get away with not having a mortgage anymore, bro, I've been, for all fairness and all, people are like, oh, you don't have a mortgage. You know what? I've been working since I was 14 years old, brother. I've been in the workforce for many, many, many years. I'm 45, bro, so do the math. I've been out there working for a really long time, and I've honestly gotten to a point where it's like, I want to do other things. I want to do the podcast. I want to be a part of this platform. I want to create and continue to create something great here where I feel I can make a difference. You know what I mean? And and I feel confident that as a manager, I mean, listen, I'm all about my people, man. I'm all about the people that work with me. Like I try to put myself last. You know what I mean? I think a strong leader, like if you watch wolves, right, a wolf pack, and they're walking through the woods, the leader is never in front. The leader is always in the back. Why? Because he wants to make sure that everybody that's in his pack is safe at any given time, right? You see what's in front of you. You don't see what's behind you. Right. And that's the way that I lead. I've always led that way. But I got to be honest with you, man. Like do I want to continue to lead people? Do I want to continue to be a manager? Or do I want to say to myself, listen, I know that I can create content. I know that we have a really great product. I know that the Bobby Kudo Show, the brand, everything about it, like my whole life has come to this moment. This isn't that I just sat down one day and decided that I was going to record my voice and do this. This is really a cultivation of 45 years of my life, of my experience, of, having experiences and friendships with you and with other people, because I think ultimately what you have here in the show is an ultimate creation of all my interactions with all the wonderful, amazing people, and maybe not the so wonderful people in my life. You enjoy the good, you learn from the bad, and here we are, and these are the conversations that we're having. And, again, I always encourage the audience, if you have a question, if you have a comment, shout outs, whatever, just hit up the show, the Bobby Kudo Show at gmail.com, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, of course, TikTok. Bro, I tell you, TikTok's out of control. Like, I post on TikTok, I get like 400. Like, I'm like, wow, I got 400 hits on that. I don't get that on any other. For whatever reason, TikTok is big for the show. Maybe because of I don't know. I think
it's that Chinese.
Yeah, dude. Right. So speaking of that, like, it's Microsoft and who else? Somebody else just bought TikTok, right? Like
Microsoft.
Microsoft, and it was somebody. I thought it was not Nokia. It's another company. But anyway, they bought it, and it's gonna continue to stay. And dude, they say that those TikTok influencers, dude, they make stupid money. They get ridiculous.
Oh, they do incredible money. Yeah.
Jeez.
So, I mean, everybody's making incredible money. This is the only thing. You can make something online without having to produce any widgets. You just put out information. People are paying for information. Thus, again, it's TikTok. TikTok has advertisers, and people see you out.
Dude,
content,
did you see that guy with the?
It's just a new way of
with the Stevie Nicks with the Fleetwood Mac, and he's on the skateboard and he's singing the song and he's drinking. Did you see this yet? The Cranberry?
No.
Oh, dude, it's viral. It's the song Fleetwood Mac, and the guy's on a skateboard. He's drinking Ocean Spray cranberry juice, and the thing goes, dude. It goes viral.
Ocean Spray
takes him on. Yes. And guess what?
Contract.
He got a truck. They gave him a truck, dude. They gave him literally
an Ocean Spray truck.
And the guy's skateboarding like this, dude. They gave him a Ford pickup truck, and I think like a lifetime supply of cranberry juice from Ocean Spray. Pretty cool, man.
It's a great. It's a one good thing about this wonderful life we have, the information.
But you know what the best part about it is that you hear a song like this, bro, and I've heard this song as long as I've been alive. This song has been...
And now you think of cranberry Ocean Spray from now on.
Right. And you have a whole audience, you have a whole generation out there that never heard the song before.
And he brings her back.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
Now she gains more royalties again.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to be like a Fleetwood Mac fan, but there are a couple of songs that, you know what I mean, that are just phenomenal, and including, obviously, when you listen to Dreams, I mean... Beautiful. I love it, man.
And that's one thing, though, that when you see when it comes to music, like, we have content podcasts, and there's thousands of people doing this thing. But music, for some reason,
millions, bro.
There's a lot of talent out there that can make music, but not everyone ends up getting a record deal,
right,
and selling it.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
So that's one thing. Right. Does that mean that music to people or tastes don't change? Like you still have to have a great, because it's like I can make a band and play out and make great music, but you're not selling records and going viral. Like everybody wants your album. Now you're traveling the world, and I'm sure that happens. But it's like still Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac and all that still reign all these years. It sticks in my head.
This song.
But I can't make a song tomorrow and still go viral.
This song right here. Right?
Yeah.
The people that wrote this song and put this song together were scientists, not musicians.
So they had talent.
What they did is they took attributes from hundreds of songs.
Get out of here.
Yes. And they put this song together, including Mr. Rick Astley. Like, he was part of that calculation, and it literally became one of the greatest #1 hits ever created. It was Scientists. Yeah.
I wonder how much money the scientists made out of it.
Dude, do me a favor, guys. I mean, not that I ever encourage Google, but in this case, go check it out and Google it. This is a cool one. Go Google it. Google this song, and you're going to read that it was actually scientists, not musicians, that put this song together solely based on algorithms of other songs. And they created that.
Oh, I guess that takes my last statement and turns it up on its head.
Right? Yeah. They actually did it. They actually created, the machine created a #1 hit. Yep. So it's out there, bro, and we're susceptible to that. And again, it's I think we're very predictable. I think in closing, brother.
Human nature.
Yeah, I mean we're 2 hours into the show, brother, and I think in like just getting to that point where we're probably going to start walking us out of here. And I think ultimately at the end of the day. And I hope that this is taken well, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter where you're born. It doesn't matter where you're from. At the end of the day, we are so human. Every single one of us, brother. You know what? When you hear this, and that becomes the #1 song, that means one thing, that somehow we all have a commonality. We all have a commonality, that we share that one idea. It's there. It's somewhere in there. And that ultimate #1 idea is that we hold something more dear than anything else in the world, and that is we hold life, right? We the idea that I don't want to die, you don't want to die, and we're going to do everything we can, Nick. And I use the example, if a child gets lost in the woods, there are no resources that we will not use to retrieve or try to find that child. Am I right? Like we don't say, well, it's going to cost $3 million to launch the helicopter, so we're not going to launch the helicopter to save little Billy that's stuck in the woods. No, we say to ourselves, we are going to take whatever we have, whatever tools we have within our means to save that life. And I think we need to continue with that mindset. But when you watch the news and you see the things that you're seeing, and you see this blatant disrespect or unbelievable just carelessness for life, people literally running each other over. Why is somebody running someone else over? Is because you're not giving them their space. You cannot get into someone's face and spit your ideas or your opinions and not expect that person to react to you. So I think ultimately what we need to do as a society is really appreciate and respect each other's space. I think 6 feet away, I think is a really, I think the analogy, I think we know we do it because of Corona, but I say let's implement that in our minds. Like, let me give you 6 feet of space from my brain. I don't want to step on your comments. I don't want to step on your ideas.
But it's good for intellectual, without using the emotion,
tank, right?
think tanks, without getting too emotional about something.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right,
we're saying, okay, I understand what it's been.
Right.
That's what the country was actually built on.
But now we're got to the point.
It's a dangerous path to take if you want to follow that road. You want to disregard somebody else's opinion and actually denigrate them.
Yep.
And the next thing you know, you make them fearful of you speaking out. Sorry.
No. I exercise my First and Second Amendments. I do that. I exercise them both.
And the 25th now, too.
Yeah, and now the 25th. Unbelievable. But, I'm very cautious when I post anything, and I never, ever, ever, ever implement a threat towards anyone or any ideas. But the other day I happened to be on social media, right? Surprise. And as I'm scrolling this group, and it happened to be a couple of black women, young women, probably in their teens, and they were, and the caption was BLM attacks Puerto Ricans. That's what it said. That's exactly what it said. And it was these women at a restaurant like you and I, maybe sitting down and eating, and they're going over to the table. And that there was a little bit of that going on.
Yep.
We're going over, you're eating that, stay. Well, they're literally now grabbing the tables, and they're ripping the tables and throwing the tables. That's what this girl was doing. And these two women were sitting at a table, and they were eating their dinner and minding their own business. And this girl was saying, let go of the table. I'm going to throw the table. And they're like, no, you're not. No, you're not. And I'm saying this, and again, I'm very cautious anytime I talk about the Second Amendment, but I'm going to tell this to you right now. I would hope that our paths never cross. If I am at a restaurant, if I am at a place and I am eating and dining with my family, and you come over and somehow think that you're going to rip the table out and throw it because you have some crazy idea that that's going to help black people or help anybody for that matter, you've got another thing coming. I see that as assault. Don't do it. Mind your space. And that's back to my original point. Mind your space. As long as you stay 6 feet away from me, I have no reason to think that you're a threat to me. As soon as you come in within those 6 feet, you now become a threat to me. You are now imposing your ideas, and you're a little too close.
Now you're going to get some fans saying, oh, I'm not going to approach them and get an autograph.
Oh, yeah, I wish they would. Hey, listen, you can come more than 6 feet away. But, again, that's my point. It's like, I think people just need to respect our space. And you see it all the time. People each other, they're spewing this venom in each other's faces.
They're young. That's the only thing I see. They're young. They're unimpressionable.
Yeah.
They don't know yet. And
Yeah.
well, they haven't seen the ways of the world, and they're just going on their emotion.
You got to back up, because you just have to back up. And I hope and pray that, you know, the listeners of the show, you're taking this message and you really realize that, you know, with this, obviously we have this huge election coming up, and I don't have to tell you, because everybody's saying it. It's the most important, right? Every election they say that. Every 4 years they say it's the most important election. In reality, the truth of the matter, it really, really is. Because I mean, it's going to be the decision or the choices that we make now that are going to. This is really going to impact us for a very, really long time. I really do believe that the Democratic Party, they are very prepared. I believe that they are prepared in the sense of, you know, they have a majority. They do have a majority. And with that majority comes a lot of power. And I think that they are planning way in advance. They're not planning for tomorrow, a week from now. They're planning a very long-term situation here. And I think if we're not careful and you end up with a Biden-Harris administration, that's only going to empower them. And literally, and I only say this from my own personal experience, you're going to put them in a position where you no longer have a choice. I think it's gonna come.
They're gonna give you that comfort of not worrying, and then you lose your choice.
Yeah. And this isn't about Trump. This is nothing to do with Trump. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Even if Trump goes that route,
you gotta watch that yourself.
Exactly. Even if it's Trump, you still have to look and see.
You can't let them.
I am a fan of a majority minority. I am a fan of that, because it really does balance out both sides. You know what I mean? If you have a Democratic majority here, Republican majority over there, I think you have a good balance of yes and no's. You know what I mean? But when all of that power gets shifted to one side, you no longer have a choice, right? That's
and you got to wait another 4 years till the next election. Then they go back to
and by that
it's
time,
a bunch of bullshit, and that's why it's losing its value in Congress.
Yeah,
I think there's nobody going across the aisles anymore.
Absolutely, and you know, when you talk like Roe versus Wade, in those situations
why are we
where
bringing that up though, I keep hearing about that thing's already been.
It was.
Why is it coming back up? They use it to make people think again.
You know why?
Oh, I gotta get on the policy. That's already been passed.
But you know what it is? It's because the reason people are bringing it up again because it's not because it's not in the Constitution. It was a Supreme Court decision that wasn't in the Constitution. What you're asking is something that's specifically designated in the Constitution. You're asking the Supreme Court to override that. And that's why that Roe versus Wade situation.
Don't ask, don't tell is not in the Constitution
exactly. And I think people are more sensitive to that because you really have you have a side now. Obviously, the confirmation hearings are going to come up, and God, I can imagine what that's going to be like.
Just don't watch that on the Bobby Kudo podcast.
It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. But in all fairness, I think that you keep the Supreme Court at 9. I think that's a really good number. I don't think you increase that. I don't think. And again, when Biden doesn't say that he's going to or not going to, that makes me a little nervous. I'm a little scared of that because, guys, at the end of the day, whether you're for, whether you're nay, whatever it is you're for, when the Supreme Court is in one-sided, at some point, it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but at some point there's going to be a decision that's made that's not going to be that's not going to be in your favor. So I think you need to keep that balance. You need to keep the scale of justice, right? You got that. That's a branch of the government that we know, the judicial system. We do not want to mess with that. I think that we continue to just be cautious, watch what we're doing, and give each other some space, man. Right? If there was a message today, Gary, I think that's really what I mean. Just give each other some space.
I think people are sick of hearing that. Put a mask on and keep your space.
Keep your space, right? But seriously, but if you give each other space,
just allow yourself for other people's notions and don't take yours as total credit, because this is what's so divisive right now. And that's what they talk about. Civil war and the divisiveness of the country, because you're so drilled into what you think, and they don't want to see the other side of it, and just get a good perspective. Be level-headed.
Yeah, be level-headed. More so now.
Yeah.
Like they always say that in the moment of panic, you tend to
make bad decisions,
right? And I think that's where we're at right now. We're in a moment of panic. We're afraid. Regardless of anything. Again,
keep your space.
Keep your space, right? Keep your space. And the other thing is understanding that you don't have to like your boss. You don't have to like your boss. Like the CEO of my company, I don't have to like Mark Triton. Like I don't have to. He doesn't have to be my friend. I don't have to like him. But God damn it, you better do a good job up there, man. Because I'm busting my ass down here, and as long as you're doing a good job up there, I got a place to come to work tomorrow, right? And that's what I'm talking about here with the presidency. Like, listen, we don't have to like Trump. I don't like Trump. I think he's a pompous asshole. We all agree to that. I get it. But the guy,
he's the captain of the ship. You don't.
Dude, he's good at what he does, and sometimes you don't have to. Right? You don't have to. You know what? There have been times in my life where I was told no. Hey, can I have a vacation day? No, I didn't like my boss. What the hell? What do you mean no? I come to work every day. I bust my ass for you. You're not going to give me a day off? How dare you? Right? And I think that's the mindset right now that people are like, what do you mean no? Sometimes you just can't. You're not going to get it, right? You're just not going to get it. And I think we just have to get past that. And I guess feeding that dopamine addiction. You know what I mean? That instant gratification. I think it's very difficult right now. And before we go on, bro, I'm just going to ask you real quick. How do you feel about the vaccine? How do you feel about the coronavirus vaccine? I mean, I know we talked a little bit before the show, and you mentioned, I know you were kind of skittish about it. But
I don't think we're going to get one fast. If we get one fast and it's spread fast, I really like to have it get investigated first. Just the coronavirus.
Yep.
People had, what is that, the chicken box, and then now they found they had shingles. What's this coronavirus going to do?
Right.
And later on,
right. What's the 10 year?
10 years, 20 years now.
Right,
oh, you had coronavirus, you have this.
Right.
But so the vaccine is the same damn thing, and now it was so forced to push it out fast.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, but I'd want to wait. At my age, if I'm healthy, I'd wait. I wait it out.
Do you get nervous that Bill Gates is involved in that? Does that make you nervous at all? Because it makes me nervous. Because I say to myself, what is the?
If it's not him, it's somebody else with prominence, with wealth.
But why?
Because you're so wealthy, you have a chance to, you know what, I can do something different, and then whatever cause you want to take. I think that's what happens when people have such a mass wealth, and then with that wealth, he comes to some power and he says, I want to make something. Now it's people with egos, and not so much that, but I accomplished so much, and now I have the ability to do this. Let me do it.
Do you know?
That's what I think. That's what I just think most people think of.
I believe it was episode
like Soros,
40.
whoever you go for or not.
I believe it was episode 40, 39, 40. I did some information based on
his vaccines and his thought process.
And part of the segment was I was talking about the World Health Organization, and I was talking about the companies that contribute the most amount of money to that organization. Bill Gates. And number one was the United States. America was the United States that we were paying the most.
Until Trump said, nope, we're pulling
and
out.
then he pulled out, right? And he pulled out of there. Number two, brother, was Bill and Linda Gates Foundation. $500+ million a year they donate to the World Health. Like that's to me, it's mind blowing that any one person would donate that much, allocate that much money to one specific. Right? Like, because you would think if I have $500 million, do you know how many organizations and how many, really, when you think about that, $500 million, not just once, a year that he's giving to this organization. Imagine if he put that towards the Shriners Children's Hospital.
Well, we don't know if he
right?
is.
But I'm saying, like, even if he is, like, why wouldn't you allocate those monies in other...
Make a difference right away?
Make a difference right away. What is the World Health Organization doing for us? We've already figured out that they're in bed with China, and they're hiding the numbers, and 200,000 people dying with coronavirus because they didn't tell us exactly what it was, and it came from Wuhan, and like all of that it was a man-made virus, that it was made in a lab. Like, we can't excuse all that. That's all real information, guys. I'm not making this up. It's a man-made virus. It was a man-made virus that was made in a lab in Wuhan that is funded by Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci. So we're not making this shit up, bro. This is legitimate. Guys, Google it, look it up. I can't say it if it ain't true. Go look it up. But somehow we're not talking about that. What we're talking about is the 25th Amendment and whether or not the president is fit to serve the country.
Keep him distracted.
Right. Look over here. Look over here. So again, I just I wanted to go out on a note and just really letting everybody know, like, just be aware, man. Be on the lookout. There's just so much bullshit flying around.
Now. You have
it's
the
tough,
internet.
dude.
Look it up, do some research.
It's tough to see, dude. It's tough to see with shit in your eyes. It really is.
Don't get caught up in the conspiracies.
Right.
You also got to look at things that'll help you in your life. And investing and looking for the long term.
Yeah, right.
We'll get over this.
Yeah, I believe so.
Don't take your money out, buy an RV, and run out.
How many
people?
People thought the world was over when they lost when the housing bubble crashed, right? Like when that whole thing happened, how many people were just, oh my God, it's the end of the world? Literally,
to them it was the end of the world.
They threw themselves out windows. Yep. People were committing suicide literally based on that. And now here we are. Remember Y2K? People were dying then too. Here we are, 2020. I think we're going to get past this, Gary.
We're going to get past this, but there is some turmoil ahead. Keep your finances in check, people.
Yes.
There is some turmoil coming up ahead.
Yeah.
Some unsettled.
But
we'll get through it. If you're looking at 20, 30 years from now, you'll be fine.
This election, November 3rd, I think a couple of things will happen. Always the theory is that Corona's going to go away, right?
I don't think so, man.
I don't think so.
People saying that too. I'm like,
I was thinking that for a little bit, but in reality, you see the numbers. You see, it's just
the arrogance of thinking just countries that change the world.
Just because I say it doesn't mean it's true. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking facts, and it doesn't seem like there's any this state. Oh, we're doing good over here, and then all of a sudden the numbers go up. Like it's a virus. It's going to spread like the flu and everything else. So I think we have to get through this. And like to your point, Gary, maybe we wait a little bit on the vaccine. If people are willing to take the sacrifice and be the so-called guinea pigs.
And we thank you for it.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that you contribute to mankind. Yeah. Hey, I'm an organ donor. That's my contribution.
There you go.
I'm an organ donor. Something happens, man. My liver's A-okay. I don't drink. I don't do it I got some good. I got some good. I got some great organs. I'm type O negative, so right. So I'm the Midas touch over here. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whatever you need. But at the end of the day, I'm not willing to just go through that vaccination right now. I still got a young family that I need to take care of. And I just can't be.
That's the thought of everybody else. Just
right. So again, I'm willing to make certain sacrifices, but I can't put myself in a situation where I can't provide for my family. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But I hope and pray that that we do get a vaccine and that we can get back to some type of normalcy. I probably in episode 21, we're talking 20 episodes ago, I mentioned an event, and it was right around October, this time of the year, that I wanted to rent a venue. I wanted to rent a venue. I wanted to do tickets. Right. I wanted to maybe do a live show, kind of like what we're doing here, and have everybody come up and do a panel thing. And I would love to get back to that thought and maybe consider it, even more so now with the amount of, we have thousands of listeners. There are thousands of people listening to the show. And I think even if our local fans, the people out in Massachusetts, the 39% of my audience that's in Massachusetts, and, the 37% of my audience that might be in New York, maybe we can get together. Maybe we can do something. But I know now is this, kind of a touchy time, and you really can't get a venue. People are trying to get married, for goodness sake, and they can't do it. So I think that's something we put on the back burner. But I don't want to forget it. I want to remember it, because I remember it was October.
It'll be a celebration when this
and, of course, October. This was the first episode of October. But since October 1st, the Bobby Kudo Show always goes pink. And obviously in honor of brave women that have lost their lives to breast cancer. And, just the awareness of that terrible disease and the fact that how many people and how many it just affects, right? Honestly, you lose a mother, you lose a sister. There's so many levels to that. And very susceptible to that. I have personal family members that, have struggled with that disease. I have friends struggle with that disease as well. So my heart go out to them. And if you go over to the Bobby Kudo Show on Facebook, currently running a fundraiser for the American Cancer Society, go over. I opened it up. I gave $20, man. First thing I did. So go over there, go to Facebook, go check out the Bobby Kudo Show, go donate and help help save a life, right? Help save a life. And again, while you're at it, the Shriners Children's Hospital, loveshriners.org, the Bobby Kudo Show, huge supporter of that organization. The great work that those people do for those children every single day. As you know, those children get treated for many, many different ailments, and there's no charge. They don't, the families go, right? One of the most important things, right? You're worried about your child, and now you're worried about money. No, in this case, you're not worried about the money. You know what I mean? They put these families up in hotels and they take care of them, but there's a cost to that. And if you're not gonna support the Bobby Kudo Show, get over there and support the Shriners Children's Hospital, and again, of course, the American Cancer Society in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month for the month of October. And so the show logo is pink. I don't know if you noticed it. If you if you check it out, the show logo goes pink, and hopefully, of course, the only other time it changes is for Christmas. I got the Christmas logo that I like to put on there. But other than that, those are really the only two times that I'm doing it. I'm considering autism awareness and doing the purple. I think that's probably my next one. It's very close and near and dear to me and my family, so it's just obviously awareness in that as well. But again, I guess the message today, guys, is let's help each other out. Let's look out for one another. There's some big things coming. We've got another debate right around the corner, if it does in fact happen. So obviously keep your ear to the ground. I know we were all over the place today, Gary. You haven't been on the show. It was quite a while ago, and I can't wait to have you go sign the door in a minute. But it's just always, I just want to take a minute to say thank you to you, Gary. I know.
Thank you for having me.
Dude.
Thank you for listening, everyone.
Yeah, dude. I know that you're busy, man. We're all busy, right? And just life in general. And you take the time to come in here and sit with us. Literally, it's over 2 hours and talk about these amazing topics. Bro, you were brilliant in your mind, and we talk about some of these financial discussions and in the rabbit hole. And I didn't want to get too deep today because I don't want to scare anybody or confuse anyone. But man, I think we were right there, and what we talked about makes a lot of sense. And I hope a lot of people take that and be like, wow, right, it's right. It's exactly what I'm seeing. It makes sense to me, and maybe they can take that and better their lives, or maybe just realize that. And listen, there is a curtain, and there is somebody driving this huge bus we're on. So. Don't take it for face value. There's a lot of moving parts, and just be real careful of the decisions that you make now, because these are long-term decisions. You know what I mean? So, Gary, anything you want to throw at the show? Anybody? Obviously, the real estate game is hot, right?
Everybody
I keep hearing, just a little bullshit here. I keep hearing that people are paying ridiculous amounts of money for houses. So, if you have some property, is this the time to sell? It's a seller's market. I'm hearing it's a seller's market.
It's a seller's market if you have something else that you have to buy on the low end. You're gonna buy for that price. You got to buy at the same price, to get into the home.
Right.
But there is a lot of opportunity. That's another sign of inflation.
Capital gains still? Is that still in place?
That's still in place.
Wasn't Trump going to get rid of that?
Well, there's a certain criteria for certain numbers of what you earn. If you take the money and just spend it, but if you put it in another home or other living standards, there are ways to get around it. There are a lot of tax loopholes or whatnot. But yes, I mean that's capital gains. That's $250,000 more, and I might be wrong on some portions of it of pure gain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's ways I think there's ways that could be also transferred into retirement, tax deferred or something along to. There's different ways of options. If you're worried about capital gains, then you're doing all right.
Yeah, that's a great point, dude. I didn't even look at it that way, right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, man, I would think that if I sold my property, if I sold the land that I own, and I was to say, hey, listen, I'm going to just hunker down with, let's just say, with mom for a minute.
You can do that.
And I put that money, what would I put that money? What would be the smartest thing for, so if I'm just throwing a number, guys, this is no way, shape, or form am I giving you.
Basis, let's say 100,000, just say something like that. Just make it something flat.
Okay, so where would I, if I sold my house for $100,000, where would I put that money where it's going to pay me the most? Where am I going to get the best? Even if I'm in the market and looking for another property in the interim, let's say 6 months to a year, where am I going to get the best return on my investment?
There's a certain timeline before if you make over that certain point where the capital gains are, they're gonna say it's time to collect.
Oh my God.
You got to put it in a different type of escrow and work these before you buy the next property or use your another investment.
So escrow, I'm not touching that money. That money is locked
you don't touch
in.
it. I mean, you got to prove that it went somewhere or you holding it in some kind of holdings, but they will tax you. But that being said, if you want to look for investment or to buy another property, or you're just trying to hold your money and try to hold it for the long term, or
otherwise,
to reinvest into something else.
The IRS comes and then.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they come out,
Then the IRS comes and takes everything you got, right?
Take everything. Well, they'll take their share.
They do take more than their share.
Yeah.
But again,
there are ways. There's plenty of. I mean, you can buy in certain value stocks, and don't really just leave it in straight cash.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Straight cash. Where are you going to put that money? I mean, I know we're talking like $100,000, but if I sold my house for $500,000, where am I putting $500,000, man? You know what I mean? If I got cash, I'm not going to under my mattress.
No, you put it in the bank. You actually have to put it in the bank.
Yeah, but if I put it in the bank now Uncle Sam knows, not going to pay taxes.
They're going to know
anyway.
Shit, they know that the moment you sign the bill, they know. You
right.
just take it. You invest into something else.
There's no hiding.
There are ways. There's many ways you can do it. Another multifamily property. There's things there. But
just buy another house. That's pretty much it. Buy and sell, like sell and buy, right? Sell and buy.
No, I mean. I'm not a financial advisor. I can't say that. Yeah, find out a professional financial advisor. There are ways to do it, but just like if you're gonna go down that rabbit hole, look into that. People there. We have the advent of the internet. You can look up and.
Or they can call you, right? They can call you, man. If they got some questions, some property, they want to sell it.
I'm not a financial advisor.
I know,
but
you know what, though? If I'm looking to move and buy, you're the guy, right? You're the guy that I would call. So give Gary a call, guys. Remember, 508-415-4177, CABG2711 at yahoo.com, and hit Gary up. And again, even if you question, right, you're not sure, I got something I want to sell, something I want to buy, you can play both ends of that, right? I mean, literally, and save somebody some money. So remember that. What's the going rate now for a real estate agent? What is it, like 6%? Is that what?
Well, it's like 5 to 2.5 because you split between the seller and the buyer's realtor. But
so it's 5.
It's 2.5.
Oh,
it's 2.5 or 5. Yeah.
So I'm way off at 6%.
No, 6% is good because it's between both realtors. So it's 6%, 5%.
Oh, because that's what I said. I was talking to a friend this week, and I mentioned
your realtor gets it and the buyer realtor gets it.
Yeah, all right, good. I don't want to give him bad information, man, because
that's why I try not to say too much on that investment thing. Like I put in cash, wasn't straight cash, but just like in the bank. Look the best advice to give somebody about financials: look around you.
Yeah.
Look what the majority of people are going on. And I see a lot of things in tech for our biggest retirees right now, the baby boomers, is the biggest population we have. So what do older people need?
Yeah.
What does society looking for? What is the demand? Yeah. That's what I would say. Put your ventures and money.
And I'm again, I know we're kind of dragging on here, but it's even Steve Silvestri, he mentioned that in episode 43. He's like, you've got an aging population that's living longer.
What are they going to need?
And they are the ones that are consuming the most from the system. So how do you? That's great that you bring
that up.
And
their equity, their money they've saved all they made, they're going to want to spend it on minimal time or take that and invest in some other things for other family members.
Yeah.
So yes, you do have to see what's around you in the world. And don't get so concentrated on the local thing. Look at things that are going on. Little the nuances of see what people have and invest into that.
Yeah.
And don't try to gamble it. I mean, there's the one thing is time in the market is better than timing the market. That's a hard fundamental that I go with.
Yep.
You know, and invest now early in your life, and don't wait till the end.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's because it's the question of whether you're going to spend your money on something frugal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you can invest that money and know that it's going to be there long term, so that way you can have.
And
some.
don't worry about the cycles going up and down.
Yeah, right.
Like 2000 when this coronavirus hit in March, everybody pulled their money out.
Of
they
course.
lost.
Right.
I mean, I kept everything in, and you make some maneuvers if you're smart enough, and you can do well.
Well, because there were a lot of companies that gained. They had a lot of gains. Like I said, anybody making over $30 million didn't lose any money. They got it all back. So just keep that in mind. That again, watch the market, invest your money smart, be smart about it. Don't panic. Yeah, don't panic.
Learn about it.
If you panic, you fail. But if you realize. Just be mindful of it, then you'll be good. Yeah. Gary, always such great information, brother. Thank you again so much for being a part of episode 44, brother, the Bobby Kudo Show. I cannot thank you enough. Everybody, I am your host, Bobby Kudo. Thank you so much for joining the show today, guys. If I haven't said it enough, go support the show. Facebook, Instagram. We're on Parler now. If you haven't checked it out, bro, go check it out. Parler. Parler is the new app. It's the new Twitter. The really great thing about it is it doesn't censor. There's no censorship in it. There's nobody just taking your tweets down because they don't like your opinion. Go check it out. Actually, Dan Bongino was talking about it. I downloaded it. I use it. So we have an account, the Bobby Kudo Show, and of course TikTok. Go support the show on TikTok. And as always, it's greatly appreciated. Guys, remember the contest. After this episode, take a selfie, right? Take a selfie and then post it to your favorite media platform, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It doesn't matter. Go ahead and hashtag TBCS. And I will be picking winners randomly. I'm going to just pick random winners. I got a Google Home here. Again, like I mentioned, I got a couple of T-shirts. So somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to win. You take a look, and you got Gary's spotting the 2 T-shirts right there for us. And that's just a great, great, great thing for us and for the show. And obviously trying to stimulate, obviously, more listenership for the show. I mean, we continue to grow. And I always offer it out there and let everybody know, look, I'm actually looking for sponsors for the show. I would love to have like a 1 sponsor or 2 sponsors, you know what I mean? And they would be my sponsors that's really what ideally, that's what I love to do, because I refuse to pollute the show with advertising. I'm not going to do it, because if I have to do that, then I don't want to be here doing this. It's just because that's what the essence of the show is. It's not about me getting rich doing this. It's really just about sustainability, being able for me to support, creating this amazing what I'd like to think amazing podcast, man. I mean, it's so well taken. Every day there's more and more people reaching out in some of the comments, and I can tell you, even the hate mail, I love it. People are mad because we haven't been on in 2 weeks. They're like, "What is up? What have you been doing?" And like I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, man, the wife had my attention, so. She's pretty hot, so she usually gets my attention before anybody else. So, Rachel, just real quick, happy anniversary, 20 years, baby.
Happy anniversary, guys.
I love you. I'm ready for the next 20 and see what it brings. Again, without the support from her and my family guy, I'm not doing this stuff. You know what I mean? Like this, they have to support my crazy ideas, and this is just another one of my crazy ideas that happens to be a passion of mine. So, everybody, I thank you all for your time. Just a little over 2 hours on this one. Again, reach out. Let me know how you feel. Email thebobbykudoshow@gmail.com or just go to the website, thebobbykudoshow.com, and all the links are there for everything that we're doing. Of course, Etsy, get some merchandise for yourself and support the show. And that's pretty much it for me, guys. And so, Gary, if you got nothing, I got nothing. You got nothing. We gave it to you. Whatever I had, we gave it, right? You
got it.
You got 100% of what we had. So, once again, everybody, thank you so much. Episode 44. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your commitment. And always remember that all roads lead here.